Just like in London, like you design. Welcome, everyone. Winos, the Deeppening. It is episode 108, Sarah, I believe.
Yeah, correct.
We have you are in store for a brilliant, precocious boy named Davyd.
Hello.
Just got back from Cleveland. How was
Mhm.
your Christmas break,
It
Davyd?
was it was good. I luckily I flew in like 4 days before the blizzard came, and I left 3 days after it had subsided. So I didn't have any travel issues, which was nice.
You've always been fortuitous that way.
Yes.
as you can manipulate the weather as well as you can manipulate notes
Yeah.
and a musical score. That's great to hear. So you were there for
Yeah.
about 8 days? 7 days?
About 9 days. Yeah. So yeah, no, it was good. I haven't been back in a while, so it was nice to see my mom and sister and people. So
You have the same dynamic that Depp and his sister Christy do, as I've noticed on Instagram. I feel like when they played Batman and Robin when they were kids.
Oh yeah. No, my sister and I had duo Halloween costumes occasionally. So yeah.
Did you really?
We did. Yeah. You're gonna ask me what they were, and I don't remember. But
No, I wasn't gonna. He's psychic too. Not only is he musical genius. I probably was. You're right. By the way, Kaula from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is our big market here, and we've always been huge. Welcome, sir. 3 a.m. That is such an honor and a compliment that you would join us. You reading this? At Saudi Arabia, I'm glad to finally hear you guys live. Can't wait. Kaula, I would love to hear your Saudi Arabian slant on everything. I know Don Juan DeMarco was a special movie team because he spent a great deal of time in Saudi Arabia. Or so they made it seem, right? Jeremy Levin, who got hit with a weird Me Too, that director. Sarah, do you remember we talked about that? The director of Don Juan DeMarco got a weird, I don't know if it was harassment or sexual misconduct, and he's on the outs with, he had some, I think Tracy Jacobs brought it up in the transcript.
I remember something about it, but he is completely outshined by the other Me Too's of the day, so I don't remember much.
How are you feeling, Sarah? Because it sounds like you have nasal problems.
I'm dying. Thank you.
Oh, Sarah.
That's okay.
Yeah, I could hear it. I feel for you. How long have you been under the weather?
This is day 2, and I could deal with it if I didn't. I woke up with the most searing headache I've ever had in my life. And it's not COVID, it's just a cold, but it's just sinus headache, I guess. But now it's been lingering all day, and I'm scared to even go to bed and see what I wake up with tomorrow. I don't know.
Oh, jeez.
Whatever. I'm not the only one. At least I'm not in the hospital.
Yeah.
To quote the Cranberries, Sarah, did you have to let it linger? Ooh. I missed it. One of the singers die from the Cranberries.
Yes, Dolores O'Riordan.
Oh, that's so great the way you come out with that name. I'm gonna ask you a definition later, Sarah. I think you might have an answer for it later.
Let's not pretend we didn't practice this, and I've already forgotten. I've already forgotten what that answer is, so we
for
can try.
For a 3-year period, the Cranberries were about as big a band as it got. I would say from about circa 94 to about 97. Shall I say?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Go with that.
Actually, seems a little long, but yeah.
Let's give you a little preview. It's nice to have Davyd, Sarah, because if you have to step back vocally, he could fill in, and that's what's beautiful about
Happy
this,
to.
this adaptable, precocious boy from Cleveland. Okay, this is Davyd's work. This is a brilliant score, and I say all the time. I have it so this is just walk us through this. This is
Can I set this up a little bit?
Yeah, you can. Commentary is what I love.
I mean, this is you're so kind to play this. I feel like you're an uncle that wants to show off my piano recital video at Christmas. No, I'm trying to recruit. There's the top of my head.
Yeah,
I'm trying to recruit
great hair, that great head of hair. That's just no Grandpa Saul here. No hair.
No, I will have a full head of hair until the day I die. But,
that's the Cleveland Browns.
Exactly. No, I'm taking to social media to try to recruit composition students as sort of my routine money making. So I'm making these videos where I analyze my own orchestra music, and it's super nerdy music shop talk stuff. So it's not going to make any sense to anybody. So
No, but it does make sense because I think you're teaching them how to adapt to the musical score industry that's out there today in all the various streaming platforms and movies. Because there's a whole, but like the big problem is, like you said, is a mafioso like stranglehold on the same four people getting all
Right.
these jobs.
And also just taking this music shop talk stuff and how do you turn it into like good storytelling. So
Yes.
that's really what I'm trying to do with these videos. So anyway, it's very sweet that you want to play it, but
Well,
yeah.
and not because I have a proposal for you. I think we should. I
Okay.
think, Sarah, what do you think about this? Infinitum Nihil. What does this company do? Right, except to recruit people under their umbrella. Why
Right.
not Davyd
Have an in-house
submit his
composer.
profile, his portfolio to Infinitum Nihil as to score future Depp movies that they produce?
Well, I have a feeling they're not out searching or doing recruiting missions for
Right.
anybody. You have
Why
to go
can't
to
they
them.
take submissions? Why can't they just take?
I don't. You don't know
I
that
could
they
look into
don't.
it.
I don't know.
Yeah. I will look into it for sure.
Because I think once they hear him, they go, "This is like a baby Elfman." And
Yeah.
you know how close Elfman and Depp are. The synonymous, you know, Elfman is Burton's musical score muse. So I mean, there's Lauren Marie. I mean, right, Lauren. I mean, when you hear this, it could easily be in any Burton movie, Sweeney Todd. And by the way, I thought of another category for the next Deppies:
Yeah.
animated movie, but animated cameo appearance, because Depp was in SpongeBob, Family
was he?
Guy, and something else. So we
Mhm.
played the
God,
clips
that's
of
so
that
funny.
as a category.
Yeah.
I can't remember this. He's another one. I can't remember which one it is.
Can I tell you my favorite Danny Elfman story quickly?
Yes, Mike Walker, you may.
I worked for an orchestra that was honoring Danny Elfman, and we did a whole bunch of his music on a concert. And he showed up to get. It was one of those things where there was like a gala dinner to fundraise, and they were going to give him an award. And he just cared so little about being there that he forgot his little statuette that they presented him. So
Oh my
I took it
God.
home.
Oh my God! Good for you.
Right.
That should
So-
go to you.
Yeah. And it
Are you
should, because
saying that
I
he's
kind of
jaded? Like he's so like spoiled by the industry now. He gets too many jobs. He doesn't realize how people who are out there that don't get his that mafioso like stranglehold over the industry he has.
I think he's kind of he just has a lot of affectations, because he's like, he and Tim Burton are a match made in heaven, because they both have this sort of like weird almost affected curated personality to both of them.
Burbankian personality.
Right, yeah, right, where it's like he's his studio is like, he's obsessed with hands, and like there's a documentary about him where like there's just all these like sculptures of hands around his studio, and I mean, he's super talented, and I think he has a really good team around him, because he's not an orchestra guy necessarily, but yeah, and now he's in this new phase at the age of 67 where he's trying to be like a rock star again. He's trying to go back to his Oingo Boingo roots.
Oh
So
my
I think
God, that's right.
he
Right.
performed at
Oh my God.
Coachella recently, and so I met him briefly. Like I in a line of people, I met him briefly, but he's like trying to work out again, so he gets super jacked, and like
isn't that the funny than a guy in his late 60s trying to get? It's
Well,
almost
right.
creepy. You ever see Skip? You probably don't know Skip Bayless on it's a sports show and it's a debate show.
Yeah.
The guy's like 72 and all he does is work out and run. It just he's got such an old face and it just looks ridiculous at a certain point.
Okay.
He wears a gold chain.
Yeah, he wears a gold chain and hip hop clothes. It's almost worse than Howard when you see him like fully regaled.
Well, it's like Howard in the Marco Battaglia days, where it's like even in his 50s he was too old to get muscle tone.
Yeah, he never did anything. He was a veal for decades and decades, and then he's like, the mad tear midlife crisis period. I'm going to get in shape now. It doesn't work. Your metabolism's shot. You have no muscle tone. You have no athletic ability. You're done, and you're also a Marfan. He's 6'7", by the way. He's not 6'5". He
Right.
says 6'5" because 6'5" is the last height that you could look kind of normal. When you get into 6'7", then you become freakish.
Totally,
6'5" is
yeah.
kind of normal, right? So you could still. He's so vain that he couldn't possibly say 6'7" because you look like a Frankenstein,
Yeah.
Frankenstein freak.
Yeah, right. Totally. Anyway,
Joe
so that's my
Zaruni
Elfman
agrees
story.
with you, by the way, Davyd. Elfman, great artist, but a very off-putting individual. This has got some insider.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I have a Danny Elfman hand from his deluxe
Yeah,
box set.
see?
Says Jones
I'm telling
Zaruni.
you.
Wow.
He's like obsessed with hands.
I'm gonna say hi to Babe Lewis. We said hi to Lauren Marie before, and she brought some Sweeney Todd, and that's gonna be good when we go over that
Yeah.
on the Patreon. I'm looking forward to that one. Sarah wants to vault that to the front of the line. Sweeney Todd, right,
Yeah.
Sarah?
What do I want to do? I want
You
to
wanna
bolt.
Sweeney Todd. You want to vault Sweeney Todd to the front of the commentary line.
Pole vault.
Pole
Okay,
vault.
yeah, sure. I mean,
Co-
I feel like I've already watched it putting together the montage for
Awards.
the award, but
It's such an underrated performance out of him. It
Yeah.
really is. Like I said, it's like a Batman villain singing musical. It's like the forgotten. You could even turn him into a Batman villain. It hasn't really been done yet. Batman, there's a million Batman villains.
Yeah.
There really isn't anything like that, right? A musically
it's
inclined.
It's a oh, you're talking about the character Sweeney Todd?
You
Yeah.
could do like a derivative inspired Batman villain from Sweeney Todd. The way he looks in that movie, it's like a cross between a zillion different Batman villains.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Jack the Ripper kind of. I mean, Sweeney Todd is like an actual urban myth from the turn of the century England, but
well, that's
yeah,
funny. You could fuse together Sweeney Todd with From Hell, which is a Jack the Ripper movie,
right?
And Sleepy Hollow. It's all feels like it's all in the same universe.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never put that together.
Oh, you
but
could.
it's
You could
true.
easily do like a crossover. That'd be funny if they started doing like a Depp verse thing where you just cross over other characters. In
Yeah.
the same.
Where he
Oh my
is
God.
the killer in 2 of the 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could play all characters and easily get it done. That would be great.
Yeah.
JJ Thrash, welcome. John O'Reilly, welcome. John, if I had your email, I would have summoned you for this episode because we're going over the Brown-RUDNICK firm and the interview they did on Court TV. Very expansive interview with Depp's legal team, and thank God you're here, because I truly would have shot you an email to sit in on this, because I don't know, it would have been an honor to have you comment on this in full form. I mean, it's great to have you in the chat. I mean, that's almost as good, but this is right in your bailiwick.
Yeah.
I love a good bailiwick. Ida Greenbacks, welcome. Yeah, Ida, she's the best, bro. She's such a mensch. She loves Davyd's deconstructing. She loves deconstructing
that's
Davyd's
sweet.
work.
Ida and I follow each other on Instagram now, so
She's the best.
so she's always very kind in liking my posts. So thank you.
We're lucky
Ida.
to have anyone like her in our community. As
Totally.
you,
Yeah.
sir. Everybody in the chat. John O'Reilly says, Sarah, feel better from a legalese standpoint.
I'm working on it. Thank you, John.
Barbara DeRush, welcome, Babs. Skip in a lot of trouble this week. Oh, okay, yeah. Everyone knows about his weird comments. He's just, his job is to be a provocateur and go left turn. If you look at his Instagram, he's so arrogant that he doesn't follow anybody. He's one of these people. I'm just going to export, and you're just going to look at me, and I'm not going to write anyone back, and I'm not going to follow anybody.
People don't understand when these people tweet, they're immediately putting it on mute, so they're not reading your comments your responses.
Yeah, that's
interesting. Right. Yeah.
So people are going
back.
Yeah, people are going off in the comments about laying out their argument against this person, and they're not reading this. It's so stupid. But Skip is the kind of guy. He's an old creeper. He drools over like 3 different athletes every day on his show, and he needs to be in trouble for something. And if that's the best we can get, that's fine.
So no matter what's going on in the sports world, these are the topics, no matter what time of year. LeBron James, Tom Brady, the Lakers, the Cowboys. I'm forgetting one. Was there another one, Sarah? Cowboys, Lakers, LeBron James, and Tom Brady, and something else.
You got it, I think.
I think that's it. So we're going to say call the show. I think they should call the show LeBrady and the Cowboys.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's so crazy. It's so it's almost like Howard, where the show is for him. It's a
Right.
national sports show. It's a national sports show, and all he does is talk about things he likes. It's ridiculous. I don't know how they garner a rating. I can't believe Fox doesn't step in at some point, or are they just going for Sarah? They're just going for like the humanoid red meat, where they think the hot topics are always these most popular
Mhm.
things in
That's
sports.
exactly it.
It's
It's
funny.
the
That's the topics Howard covers, but just from the locker room perspective.
It's-
Well, Skip does too. Trust.
Okay.
Skip is very. He. We'll move on in a second. I'm
His
sorry.
co-host, well, last
I
thing,
get
his
it.
co-host Shannon Sharp is a Hall of Fame tight end for the Broncos and Ravens. Phenomenal football player. Great dynamic broadcaster too. Great commentary. I'd love to have this guy defending me in court. Really smart, great broadcaster and speaker, and funny. And he's forced to talk about these things that Skip wants to talk. It's just like, he doesn't want to, and he just goes along with it. And he doesn't
Right.
almost deserve him. But I
Mhm.
love Shannon Sharp. I'm a full member behind the Velvet Rope at Club Shay Shay. That's for sure.
So
David
cringe.
G Canada says hashtag I went to Cleveland and lived to tell the story.
I forget. Is G Canada in Toronto or?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
You-
so we're across the lake from each other.
G Canada, you're closer to Toronto. Are you in Toronto? Or are you on the outskirts of it?
I don't think
believe,
he's in
right?
Toronto.
Is he on the outskirts of it?
I don't
David?
know.
He'll tell us.
Okay, you will certainly will with a hashtag in front of it.
All right, what do we got?
Where am I? Okay, so what did I got to remove here? Why do I have two? Okay, yeah. So this is David's work. So this is David's musical prowess. I kind of bit off Instagram. Let's just hear a little bit. It's not even just the musical; it's the vocabulary
Oh,
that
God.
I'm in for.
I'll be taking
it's
off my
Cornish.
headphones.
What's that?
I'll be taking off my headphones. I can't listen to myself.
Yeah, everybody hates their own voice, but trust
I
me,
know.
you were like what Holly Robinson described Dustin Glenn. Comfort. I think you should
Oh.
love your own pipes. You should
Okay.
fall in love like Stuttering John, like America fell in love with Stuttering John, and Celebrity Got Me Out of Here. You have to fall in love with your own speaking. It took
Exactly.
me years to not get. I used to get just my skin would crawl hearing my Long Island accent when I was in my late teens.
Yeah.
And not that I've fully eradicated it, but when I went to Murray State, I was able to
Right.
parry it down by 70%.
Totally. Anyway,
Sometimes
enjoy. Thank you.
Barbara DeRush, from upstate, go figure. Shannon. Okay, yeah. Steph Curry is the biggest star in Dorian Morgan. You're right. And they should be covering him. If you're going to do that, right, you should be covering him every day. That's exactly right. If you're going to go for the humanoids, he's a massive, massive star with the youth today. It's way bigger than even I realize. Shannon's like a character that Sal would have done 15 years ago. RK, welcome, sir. It's a pretty interesting comment. Close enough. I'm 10 minutes from Niagara Falls, says G Canada. 1 hour
okay.
from Toronto. That's a great location. You can go to all these major cities like that
Yeah.
from Canada.
It's
That's
the
so
hub
cool.
of the wheel.
Okay, so here's David.
Short animated film called Cowabunga. The opening shot is of a UFO flying by, followed by a title card, followed by another shot of the UFO flying by. Because we have two similar shots back to back, I composed a kind of call and response thing. Both pairs of chords are
I hear Batman the Animated Series in the background. I hear all that stuff from Warner Brothers. That Mars Attacks and stuff.
That's my music, though. Yeah, that's
it's so good.
the film that I'm talking about. Yeah.
By
But
the way,
thank you. Yes.
Take the chat off. And yes, good job. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Thank you.
interrupt.
No, you're fine. Please interrupt all you want.
grammatically related. The first one is going from C major to A major. The second one is going from C major to F sharp major, and it kind of evolves into E flat major because I'm trying to build.
I've always been an E flat major kind of guy, right?
Yes, I would
realize
score you an E flat major on.
Okay.
Build tension before a big moment. We'll talk about that another time. The phrases are similar in that
What'd you do if somebody in your Instagram goes, no, we'll talk about that right now, David. We're not going to wait for another time. We're gonna hash that out right now.
Don't
they both
tease
start
us.
on beat 2 of their respective measures, and they're rhythmically the same. In order to make them different, the first phrase is more light, more magical, more benign sounding. I didn't want to give away the full force of the orchestra to give the impression that it's a serious or scary.
I want to give the chat a heads up. You were going to learn some words here that I dare you on all of the internet to find someone using this word properly. If you take away anything, there's one word in this whole harangue that I want you to.
I'm
to
curious
have.
what it is now.
Oh, I think Sarah knows what it is.
Film, and also it's just better pacing to not give away the full force of the orchestra right away. To capture this gentler effect, I orchestrated the 2 triads for 6 woodwind instruments.
I got a triad between my motherfucking legs. If you should triad one more time.
I should add innuendo to all of my videos.
I'm all about the triad.
The word woodwind didn't get you?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well, you got to string them together.
Yeah, right.
With a closed voicing on the triads. The flute and piccolo, I have them doing another thing. We'll talk about it in a second. In contrast, the second phrase has triads in a lower register with an open voicing. I orchestrated them for 4 woodwinds, 2 clarinets, 2 bassoons, and 3 trombones and tuba. The idea is that the UFO flies by on the second chord of each of these statements, so I want to add more stuff to the second chord to make it more.
You see, that's Mars Attacks. It's perfect.
Throughout both phrases, I have the flute
very,
and piccolo arpeggiating in.
Okay.
Arpeggiating.
Sarah, would you like to? Have you ever heard the word arpeggiating?
Of course I have.
Okay, what does it mean?
This means the progression of musical notes.
Yes.
How did you get that so fast?
Because I know it. And you certainly didn't tell me earlier after you looked it up.
I couldn't. It was like a little sandbag of Davyd, our little cerebral sandbag. So this arpeggiating, right? This is the word he's using here. Arpeggiated. It means a series of ascending or descending notes.
Yes.
And the example.
See, I told you I forgot. I forgot the main word there, the ascending. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
If I ever take the musical industry by storm, my nickname is going to be Armpeggiate.
That's
going to be my musical mantra.
So think of it this way: like if Jeff Beck is, like if Johnny Depp is doing rhythm guitar stuff, he's not arpeggiating because he's playing all of these different notes simultaneously. And arpeggiating is when you break all those notes up and you play them one at a time. So that's the best way I can think of how to describe it for the Deppening audience.
Okay.
In my stint at Murray State, one of the class, college is horrible. One of the problems I have with the college system is they make you take classes you don't want to take, so they take your money.
Yes.
So you can't take what you want to take to learn. You have to take what they want you to take, and you're paying for it. So one class I did want to take is I actually took a music appreciation class.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas I'm sure 4 years from now, arpeggiate would have been in it, but the words I learned, it was stuff like syncopation and staccato.
Yeah.
It was, but that's what that reminded me of when I saw that word.
Yes.
Arpeggiate.
Yeah. No, it's all these technical terms for sure.
It's such a great word. It's such a great word. I can't. I mean, I can make it to this age, and this is the first time I'm seeing this word.
Sextuplet 16th note.
Sextuplets.
Sextuplets, yes. I know more dirty language from from
How
Davyd.
do you spell sextuple? Is it sex or is it some other?
Yeah, it's sex. It's 6 notes in the space of 1 beat, basically.
It really does having like birth of six kids at the same time.
Right. I mean, you like 3 notes in the space of 1 beat is triplets, and there's many musical terms that sound like multiple babies being born at once. It's the same word.
It is spawned from that.
It derives from the same place. Yeah.
Okay.
They're outlining the chord, whatever the chord is that they're over. I'll add some other notes to the sequence to make it more harmonically interesting. So for example, if it's an A major chord, I'll add an F natural because to me that sounds kind of mysterious. It's a great thing to do, to experiment with adding notes to different triads to see how it makes the emotion more specific. It's also important that the flute and piccolo aren't just an octave apart. Create harmony out of them. You can never have too much harmony unless it's too much when you listen back and then you change it. With the flute and piccolo doing sextuplet 16th notes, I'm also going to add the harp, celeste, second violins and violas doing duple 16th notes, same harmony.
See, the Neanderthals like me, when you see Viola, I think it's viola because there
Yeah.
was a baseball player that used to play for the Twins and the Mets, Frank Viola. So
Oh,
I
okay.
would never bother
Viola
to
Davis,
pronounce
right.
it correctly. I would just
Viola,
always go
yeah.
by what sports said.
I'm
didn't know
watching
it's
this from the
viola. It's viola.
right.
Okay.
Right. I'm watching this from the perspective of someone who doesn't know anything about music, and I'm just like cringing. So, but continue.
What I love is that you actually you can't just do this to be musically inclined. You're actually fitting a mood to the
Right.
music, which is something you can't really teach, which I like, that it's your own skill. You could be musically inclined but not know anything about fitting the mood to the music.
And that's the problem with like there's a lot of composers that come from like a producer background where they don't have any understanding of how to take the technical side of music and make it emotional, and vice versa. There are a lot of like stuck up academic composers that don't care about storytelling or emotion. So that's why I like film music, because it's right in the middle. It has to be somewhat complicated, but it can be effective even if you know nothing about music.
With no concept of how to arpeggiate at the same time. Which
Right,
always trips me up.
exactly. They should be drummed out of the business, in my opinion.
John O'Reilly, she loves Barbara Derush, because I love that Davyd is so official with his music talk. Yeah, that's
Oh,
the way.
thank you.
You gotta be. I mean, he's got people. I mean, that's how. INFINITUM NIHIL will be lucky to have him once we shop him to Christy Dombrowski. At some point, we got to figure here. I mean, you're right there. You're right there.
Yeah.
You're right by the penthouses. You're right by
Yes.
the what's the name of the street again? Depp's mansion.
Sweetser.
Sweetser, right. The Sweetser mansion.
Yeah.
John O'Reilly says, "Don't mix a viola with a hedge clipper." I believe that's a Bob Ojeda joke with Frank Viola. That's so brilliant. What a brilliant Mets joke, John O'Reilly. I can't believe no one's thought, and I think that's the first time anyone's thought of it. Arm coming from no, I said Xavier because Xavier McDaniel pronounces the X, and Professor Xavier from the X-Men. It's always, I'm hitting the X. I'm not saying Xavier. Fuck that. Never, ever, ever. Frank Viola, lifelong Twins fan. Yeah, JJ Trath. I was Kirby Puckett for quite a while. Was one of my top 2 players in the league. Absolutely love Kirby Puckett. Rip Kirby Puckett, by the way. It was a horrible death to the sports world. One of the most underrated stars in the history of baseball. Although I hated when he stopped stealing bases. He was almost a 30-30 guy.
Harmonic language, I just want it to be a blur rhythmically. I also have the first violins just kind of sustaining a note, playing tremolo. Oh, and the violas and second violins are also playing tremolo.
It's too lazy to re-record that.
Sarah, have you ever sustained your tremolo?
I'm trying to right
Always
now.
sustain your tremolo.
Oh my god.
But the sustained violins on one note, and then the second phrase it turns into triads, just to have that kind of shimmery texture going the whole time. Also, I have a suspended cymbal roll going the whole time to add to that kind of shimmery, misty texture. In the first phrase, because I do want it to be more magical, I'm going to put a little...
What happens if you don't suspend the shimero? What happens to the shimero if it's not suspended?
It'll feel flat, and it won't
Okay.
it won't propel the way I want it to, because we're going, yeah.
Okay.
mark tree
Fair enough.
dissension on beat 3 to make it more magical. The second phrase, I keep the flute and piccolo going with the sextuplet rhythm just to keep it driving forward. I also have the violas outlining this sequence of notes in duple 16th notes, played tremolo, again, just to help drive the music forward.
Oh, it is duple 16.
Yes, your suspicions were correct.
Finally, to make the second phrase a little bit more militaristic, sci-fi invasion movie type of deal, I have a little rhythmic thing with the oboe, English horn, and 4 French horns. All right, let's listen to the live orchestra put all these elements together.
This is really good. I mean, I'm joking around.
No.
And you know how brilliant I think you are. This is so good, and this could be used in any soundtrack, anywhere, any animated series, any animated movie. And this is where that industry, and I say all entertainment, I wish it was like sports where it was merit-based, because you would get every job.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and once the full film of this, it's just a 4-minute animated short that I did for this Disney guy. But once it's posted somewhere, I will send it. We can play it here, and you can see what all my rantings are about.
Definitely. Make sure it's arpeggiated first.
Yes, absolutely.
Tune in next time as we can.
I look at that as the discovery
remix.
of Atlantis.
Yeah, no, I mean it's I'm trying to get those kind of movies. Like I'm trying to get animated films and this kind of thing because that's a very specific skill set. Other composers are going after like the Marvel movies and stuff, which is more dependent on production stuff and not so much how to work the orchestra. So yes, I'm specifically going for that sound for a reason.
I mean, they're going to be doing, there's a lot of underwater stuff going on. And that is like the discovery of a new kingdom, and you come upon it, and that's it. That's exactly what would play. His arm going to brag about his Murray State Popeye Jones throwback jersey. They'd never made that arc. I can't believe you remember that. And I am that much of a simpleton. And my major motivating factor for going to Murray State was how good a rebounder I loved Popeye Jones. And I was just applying to colleges where my favorite players are going to. Xavier being one of them. Wichita State, Louisiana Tech, because Carmelo went there. Xavier McDaniel went to. I'm that much of a simpleton, and that had a lot to do with why I went. I believe I was a barely 6-foot white version of Popeye Jones when I went there, and I just missed him. He was older. He's obviously older. I just missed him when I got there.
To answer Barbara DeRush's question, yes, that is my head. It's very squished because the video file is horizontally squished, but yes, that is my head.
And the head of hair that all of Hollywood gets hair plugs to achieve. At this point, Hollywood hair plugs. It feels like a space adventure as well, John O'Reilly. You're absolutely right. It's absolutely right.
It's a short that concerns a UFO coming down to Earth. So yeah, it
hits it checks all the boxes for that. Okay, Davyd. Anyway, you want to plug anything?
Not right now, but there might be some stuff coming up in the future. A film I did last year is currently looking for a streamer home to be. They're working out who to sell it to. So when it's somewhere, I will let you know.
Can I recommend a streaming service called Tubi?
Yes.
Right, Sarah?
No. There is a reason why I associate the word trauma and Tubi together.
I can't believe Barbara Rush knows Wichita State, Barbara. Ida Greenbacks knows Wichita State. I can't believe that. I always think I did know. I kind of did, Barbara Rush, to go to Kentucky because of Depp. If there was an Owensboro State, I would have gone there. Make no mistake. So when I was there, all I did was ask the Kentucky residents about Owensboro. That's all I did. Everybody I saw, how's Owensboro? Where's Owensboro? You go, well, it's a time zone away, and it's like 4. It was like nowhere near where Murray was. It's almost like on the east side of. It's actually close to Cincinnati.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I wonder how far your Cleveland would be to Owensboro.
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland is 4 hours from Cincinnati, so.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
That plus whatever it is.
Let me ask you this: is Cincinnati in the Central Time Zone?
No, it's in the Eastern Time Zone.
Okay, so I know Cleveland is, and I always thought I realize how close Cleveland is to Buffalo.
Yeah, very close.
Very close.
A couple hours. My parents met in Cincinnati. They both went to University of Cincinnati. So.
Oh, okay.
I credit the city of Cincinnati for the reason I'm here talking to you today.
I wish I miss Andrew Morgan, Sarah, right, from Cincinnati. What the hell happened to him?
I don't know.
Vanished.
One of the many that have vanished.
Very sad community we have. People just kind of zap away off the face of the earth, and there's we'd say all the time with Melvin and Scott Balow. I wonder I gotta follow up on that really, really fastidiously.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we're gonna. Go ahead.
Before
Sarah.
You start, thank you, John O'Reilly, for the $10 because it'll be another 45 minutes before Arm gets to it.
No, no. Well, we're gonna do just before we get to the legalese stuff with Brown and Rudnick. I just wanted to touch on Jerry Bruckheimer's commentary on Depp coming back to Pirates. I want to have a little comment on that. Okay, so this is Jerry Bruckheimer. He's asked about the American press apparently has a kind of YouTube show, and I don't know who's actually answering. So Jerry Bruckheimer is there, and he's asked about Depp, and it's a very, very softball, obfuscating response back with, as you could imagine, with not giving you much. And
I repeat, this is not a drill. The newest development in the Johnny Depp Pirate saga has sent Johnny Depp fans into a frenzy after a recent clip of producer Jerry Bruckheimer surfaced online. This could finally be confirming the fact that Disney wants Johnny back again for the franchise that he literally made popular. Some would say that this is sweet justice, but what exactly has Jerry said? Well, see for yourself.
Are we seeing a return with Johnny Depp to Pirates of the Caribbean? I've been reading about that online. Is that like pipped happen, do you think?
We're still working on it. Nothing's definitive yet, but we continue to take little baby steps getting towards a screenplay.
Do you think producers and directors in Hollywood take like the way politicians speak, where they give you non-answers back, like obfuscating, deflection answers, that non-answers where they're answering the question like that? They have to take a class almost in PR.
I think they take a class in sort of seeming to be good-humored and glad handling the humanoids in a way where it's like, I can sort of give my Jimmy Stewart stutter and come off as kind of endearing as I tell you to fuck off with your question, and
he's throwing the Depp, which is what he knows. I mean, he's not an idiot in terms of he knows what they want to hear. So he gives a non-answer that seems like, oh, there's a chance. I mean, there's always a chance for everything. What's he going to go? There's not a chance in hell Johnny Depp's never going to do Pirates. Like, you know how much shit he would take if he said that? Yeah.
I mean, they're smart enough to know, like, the best answer is a non-answer. That's how they can coast through life,
And by the way, if you told me, I'm sorry, you'll be the same way because you've been a Depp fan since Jump Street. If you told me in 1994, when he did Ed Wood and Gilbert Grape and through the Brasco years and Fear and Loathing, if you told me he was ever going to work with Jerry Bruckheimer, Don Henley, hell would freeze over.
Totally.
Would you have ever imagined he would work with Jerry Bruckheimer, who's literally the paradigm of mainstream commercial film? You know what I mean? Like shit you never thought he would do.
Agreed.
Also,
the face of it, but literally the face of it.
It was nice of Jerry to shower for this interview, by the way.
So let's go.
It's been 5 years since Johnny Depp last played Captain Jack Sparrow in the 5th Pirates of the Caribbean film. His future in the franchise has been dubious since domestic violence charges by his ex-wife Amber Heard. However, having won his libel lawsuit, fans have been hoping for a long time that Disney would bring him back, and there are undoubtedly encouraging hints in the latest update on the franchise's future.
For the uninitiated, okay, and I've been going off on this, Depp has done 5 Pirates movies. The 5th one did horribly in terms of the budget, in terms of everything that went into it, and that was enough. Sarah, would you say by 3 you were done?
I would say the second one was the last one I cared about, but you got to understand this. If he does another one, it's going to go crazy.
It's in terms of
that's true.
Bach, don't. I mean, we thought, why would you say the box office is augmented from people who saw the trial who wouldn't ordinarily see his films before?
That, and the media attention is going to be tenfold because this is kind of the first major thing he's done since the verdict, etc. I think he was just get a lot more coverage, but you also got his wives on Twitter that are going to rush, and there are a lot of them. They're going to rush to the theater 10 times to see this movie.
You see, I think they're charlatans, and they want to attach themselves to the Heard stuff, and they don't actually watch movies. That's my theory. I don't think I don't think they actually go to the box office.
Well, they have to support their husband by going to
I don't think they go to the theater. I really don't. I don't think they actually go to the theater.
Like they'll catch it on TV or something.
Well, they just want to let it's a fake thing. It's with their fake fans that have latched themselves on from the trial. And so they go on and they act like they're going to see it, but they never. If they were so big, why didn't they see Minamata? Where were they during City of Lies when that
Yeah,
came
but
out?
this
during this
might
whole
come
thing?
out before Aquaman 2.
No, it's not even being made. They don't even have a screenplay for it.
I would think this might come out before Aquaman 2, the way that's been
No,
delayed.
not a chance. Then it's not even. They're not even in pre-production.
They don't even know what
Aquaman's
they don't
done.
even know what they're going to do with Aquaman 2 right now.
Apparently,
Wait.
it's coming out in the first trimester of 23rd
We'll see.
of
What
2023.
what year did the fifth Pirates come out?
2000. Great question, Debbie. 2017.
Oh, okay, that's more
He's
recent than I
knee
thought.
deep in the allegations
Right.
from TMZ when it came
Okay.
out.
Oh, okay. I was for some reason I thought it was like 2013 or something. I was going to say like a decade later, but it's only 6 years later.
The
but yeah, I
trilogy
think-
came out like so. 03 is when Pirates 1 comes out. Then they shot.
Yeah.
They did a smart thing, and they shot 2 and 3 at the same time, which
Right.
The Matrix did. That's very wise. You have everybody there. You're not sure if you can get them again. Shoot 2 because you know they're going to be. And they did 3, and then he did the 4th, and I'm like, no, it was so big.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, I'll give you 4, maybe that's enough. And then they did the 5th, and I'm like, you are beating this to death. And he made a career on being unpredictable, and this is the most. And that was a cash grab, as we found out through Tracy Jacobs.
Right.
But I couldn't deal with the 5th. I knew then. I think I've heard rumors that Disney's streaming channel might release it. If they
Right.
do a 6th one.
Yeah. I do think there's also something about like COVID feels like a time warp since it started. And so even though it was a mere 6 years ago that he was in a Pirates movie, it does feel like 10.
Yes, it does.
And
Yes, it
so
does.
that would contribute to the interest in people wanting to see him revive his Jack Sparrow character.
I was in the theater when I saw the 5th one, and I take this is how into it I am as far as his career. So I look around the theater, even though I like to sit away from everyone, and I try to. God, hey John O'Reilly, I want to copyright. I want to start headphone jacks in movie theaters where you can opt to have Bluetooth headphones tuned in, so you don't have to hear popcorn crunching around you.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I can't believe it hasn't been done yet. I can't believe I'm the only one talking about this. And that really gets you focused on the movie when you're the headphones in and you don't have to hear ambient noises. Anyway, so I like to look around the theater to gauge the reactions for things. And I kind of do this thing where I'll look. And people were kind of rolling their eyes and just completely jaded and disinterested during the 5th one. I did not like what I saw. And then the box office showed that it was just a very tired trope. This is not to say that I understand hanging out with your friends on the set. You know everybody. It's an easy thing to step into. But he built a career on being unpredictable and not being redundant like this. I can't. Right. Like I said, the Don Henley hell freezing over that he would do 5 films, 5 sequels is insane to me.
Yeah, right. It's so funny because other franchises, like the 4th or 5th installment of a franchise is like the punchline on a shitty sitcom joke, like Rocky 5.
Yeah,
or,
right.
Like Police Academy 5 or something,
Right. How many Police Academy 5 jokes did we hear over the years?
Right.
And that's what when you see 5 attached to something, it seems like as they say, the old cliche goes, a parody of itself. I can't believe there's 5 of these things.
Yeah.
Barbara Deutsch, I wish Arm was my next door neighbor. That is a great compliment, Barbara. A little Jack Tripper, come on, knock on my door scenario with pretend I'm gay, and Mr. Furley will come over with his scarf. And where the kisses are hers, hers it is. Scotty, as soon as Arm stops singing, oh God, we got to have G Canada sing. I listen to don't necessarily chat on the Gunk Wino podcast. Says Barb. Producers, lawyers, John O'Reilly in Hollywood live in an alternate universe. Yes, they do, sir. Yes, they do. Dubious my ass, says G Canada. Hashtag vindicate Amber. Hashtag UK court got it right. Hashtag Herds Wives Unite. I love actual Depp for Lives coming in and seeing these hashtags. I always love that. notion on Twitter. Hashtag Amber's IQ is high. That's probably my favorite one. Is higher than Arms, and it could very well be. Another Depp pirate movie will gross Taylor Swift's tour. And what do you think about this, Sarah? Now, with the sixth one, what do you think about the comments he made about Disney to Nathan Holmes?
Yeah, I'm not even convinced he's doing another movie. Bruckheimer didn't say anything of substance, so that leads
Most
me to believe anything
importantly,
is actually in the works.
Depp himself has never said anything of the sort. He placates fans who ask him this stupid cliche question when he's running around with Beck and he's graciously signing every autograph in sight, and they ask him about pirates. He's not going to say, "Kiss my ass, Disney. I'm never working with these assholes again. They don't know what they have. I'm the 800-pound gorilla in this film." He's not going to say that. He's going to give you a very classy answer back about it. But he's not working with Disney again. Get it through your skulls, please. I don't want him to. You shouldn't want him to. If you have any shred of artistic integrity, his performance with the young man who had Corey from Britain, who had the what's it, Sarah, the disease he had?
I don't know his disease.
I forget the name of the disease. I don't know why.
The Depp has?
No, it was a kid in it was a Make-A-Wish Foundation kid.
Oh,
who had a terminally
okay.
ill disease, and his performance as Sparrow there is better than the movies.
Right. Yeah.
Improvising it.
Well, he has a mission, right?
Yeah. Who cares if it's in the? And I'm going there with Barbara. John O'Reilly says Arm likes to sit in Pee Wee Herman seat. I've rubbed one out a few times to Gilbert Grape.
To Mama.
With my Gilbert Grapes to Mama and Gilbert Grape. Yeah, that's another category. So I thought of another category for the Deppies. Tear-inducing scenes in a Depp movie.
Why are you giving them all away? Can we wait until we're even 6 months from it?
No, I think people will like. I think people will enjoy.
What are they going to do with this information now?
Because it prepares them to submit their own thing. And we could give a nice 10 different answers to it. 10 different choices.
Oh, really? You're going to make all the montages for the 10 different answers? Okay.
No, you are.
Yeah, I know. Apparently.
I thought you were going to say best mother figure for Depp in a movie.
That's a good one. I never thought of that. It's a good one.
Because I would vote for, in Edward Scissorhands, Winona Ryder's mom, Diane Wiest.
Absolutely good. That's a very good answer. That's very good. Faye Dunaway. That's very good. Yeah, I mean, there's 10 of them. And it's great category. Speaking of black people, Pablo, Arm wants a black audience. Talking filter. Yes. Well, I thought of another category: black actors Depp has worked with, and I'm going to list. It's Holly Robinson, it's Stephen Williams, it's Charles Dutton, it's Morgan Freeman, it is Forrest Whitaker, people like that. So hopefully, I'll have a list of 10. Who's your favorite black actor that Depp has worked with? I feel really good about that category. I really do. Police Academy had 7 movies. Only the last 2 didn't make $100 million profit and broke even and lost money. I wonder what the budget for that PCBPO23. I wonder what the budget for those Police Academy movies were in terms of profit. Kaula. I think Disney's dead to him, like Bruce and Tracy. Hope he'll never come. Nice Bruce Whitkin reference, Kaula and Tracy Jacobs, who he brings up. We're going to do an episode soon about. And no one's talked about this. I have the video of Depp getting his star on the Walk of Fame.
Oh.
And maybe you could sit in with us, Davyd, and tell us about how that is now, the Walk of who's on there and what you see.
I'll go take my own personal video of his star and because I'm due to do another Depp tour at some point.
That would be fantastic. Because what's the deal with that? So somebody has to pay for it, someone has to volunteer, and they have to clear it with the.
It's through the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. So I'm sure that there's there has to be, I think there's it's almost like an Oscar, like there's a nominating committee, and the thing that they do is they'll do a lot of posthumous ones. So, and that's more for non-actors. So, directors or producers, they'll get like posthumous stars on the Walk of Fame. But because I think they're probably they're such star fuckers, they're more aware of the actors. If they're going to croak soon, like, oop, we better give them, a star, or that they legitimately, are big enough to deserve one at this point. So
There's some real undeserving people on that walk. It's that somehow they crowbarred onto that. I couldn't believe some of the names. Now, when I found the Depp thing, believe it or not, he got that before Pirates. So this is 2002 they did this.
Wow.
Which I thought it was a couple years after that. I forgot kind of the very year it was, but it's 2002 they did this.
That's interesting, because again, I think it's just so starfuckery, and not that he wasn't famous in 2002, but as like he didn't sort of get into the super commercial movie phase by then,
No, his biggest hit up until that point was Sleepy Hollow.
Right.
And that made just a shade over 100 million in the States. Internationally, it did pretty well. It's definitely a film that permeates internationally, but it was the first time he had 9 figures and made just as $101 million. It just made it. I remember watching it creep over the 9-figure line at the time in 99.
Yeah.
And so that was the biggest, but he was known as just a kind of a versatile comedian maverick, turning down one huge script after the next.
Yeah.
And he still had that kind of maverick auteur avant-garde spirit at that point in 2002. Cowlaw, I believe, please tell me you listened to our reenactment of the Tracy Jacobs transcripts. I'm really proud of those. And I think she's got a lot more to say. And so the documents that were excavated from Fairfax, I want to go and peck at some stuff from her, because I don't think we've heard the last from these people, Witkin or Tracy, right, Sarah?
I would say Witkin, because he's cowering now with his tail between his legs. But Tracy Jacobs needs to work, so she's gonna continue to keep her name out there.
Apparently, she's got a pretty decent stable of people. I gotta look at her client list. I think Jennifer Lopez is one of them.
Oh, interesting.
She's doing fine.
Swear to God, I saw that like a year ago, and I don't know if it still maintains, but I really believe. So I do want to do. I don't think we've heard the last of these people, but I do think they're afraid of. Sal Janko is another one, and this is when we get the see. I think Sarah doesn't want to do this. There's a guy named Richie Albertini who worked at the
share
Viper
everything.
Room. What's that?
Sarah doesn't want to do that.
I didn't say. I didn't say anything. I said you. I say you're circumspect about it. I'm going in, and he has all this Viper Room dirt. So I'm going to ask him about Witkin. Maybe he knows about Jacobs too. If he no matter what, I'm going to hear him out, even if it's fantastical.
There was another thought I had was I'm going to try to go to like a random Viper Room show just to kind of get some video footage. That's my opportunity to do any tour video of it, because it's closed during the day. So I think that would be fun.
But I mean, I've known Tracy Jacobs since the Jump Street years, and she was so synonymous with him. There was no interview you could watch with him where she wouldn't come up as kind of a risk taker. You heard the thing with Jennifer Grey, how she basically prostituted Jennifer Grey to land Depp as a client, which is the craziest thing. And I know that goes on in Hollywood, but it's insane to me.
I can't wait to go over Loser Town, Daniel Depp's book with you, because there's so many, like there's a female agent character in the book who's just like a ball buster. Like, this book is horrible, by the way. It's really a slog for me to get through it, but there's a movie star character in it that sounds like a description of Depp almost. So I'm excited to go through that with you guys.
Sarah, Davyd was telling me that Danny Depp's book, no matter how, try as he may, he cannot get away from basing every character on Johnny.
Yeah, that says something.
in every way. Everything is like an actor who is an assassin or something, and it's just bizarre
Yeah.
attempts at.
Well, and
at
also it's every other word is fuck. So it's like
Oh,
Howard wrote the
God.
script, or wrote the book. I mean,
Mhm.
he thinks he's being a deep writer by using profanity.
Is he trying to
throughout.
sound like Thompson, Davyd?
Perhaps, but no one in this book is likable. Everyone is everyone is just a complete asshole. Even the main character is just, he doesn't want to do the case, and it's a baffling book. Yeah.
So everyone, just if you're not aware of it, Davyd took the he took the initiative of reading Depp's older brother, who's 10 years older than him, Danny Depp, who introduced him to Thompson. And he's kind of like, he's a school teacher and he's a screenwriter, and he's kind of back and forth from Kentucky. He doesn't come up a lot. He has an Instagram. Of course, I follow him. He's done a lot of, and he has written these sort of crime drama, these crime novels where it's a Hollywood crime dramas.
Yeah, exactly.
And he kind of fuses the Hollywood industry with murder mysteries. And Davyd's saying that he can't get away from basing these characters on his brother's life.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just very, very quickly, just 2 sentences. I have it in front of me. So the movie star character is he is named Bobby, and the detective is in his trailer, and he says he describes the trailer. What made Bobby's trailer special in Spandau's mind was his utter lack of distinction. There were no frills, no pillows, no fancy curtains, no family photos, no photos at all, no memorabilia, nothing that provided any access to Bobby's personal life or past. And he describes a small bookshelf with Charles Bukowski and Carl Jung.
Yeah, you got it.
I was like, that has to be his brother,
It's funny, too, because the name of the guy from Blow is Jung. Jung.
Oh, there, yeah.
Carl Jung is a philosopher, right?
He's a philosopher, right?
Okay, right. He's because my former psychologist in New York was obsessed with this guy. He had books of him all over in the background, and I used to just go. He liked 2 guys. That guy and Carl Rogers was another guy. 2 Carls.
Oh, I don't know that name.
Yeah, it was another guy. He had books constantly all in the background. Lauren Marie, I have her endorsement on the headphone idea in the movie theater. She writes, I will sit in front of the front row in a theater if it's crowded and I don't want to be around anyone. People who talk during movies is a huge pet peeve of mine. Thank you, Lauren, because that's exactly the inspiration for the headphone jack or a Bluetooth signal.
Yeah. You
don't have to use it, but if you want to, you could use it. I don't know why no one's thought of that. I don't get it. I really think movie attendance would increase by 40% if they did that.
I think movie theaters feel like one of their they've cornered the market on like amazing sound systems and surround sound and all that stuff, and they feel like that's one of their draw points. But it's true. I mean, I feel like movie theater behavior has gotten worse as I've gotten older.
It is.
It's very strange.
You know why too? Because there's too many distractions from your phone to whatever else. Right. You are not fully immersed in the experience.
And you can set up your home entertainment system to be as close to a movie theater as possible.
That's
so they
the problem
with
sports too. It's more pleasurable to watch it at home. Exactly right. There's almost no, and they know that. They have to know that we're getting to the point where there's no point in going to the theater because you can do it better at home as your TV gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, right.
Police Academy had a budget of $20 million each, says PC. That's a crazy budget for those movies. Where did it go?
Went to the one guy who made all the sound effects.
Oh, Michael Winslow?
Yeah.
He gets
15 mil goes to him for, him like puffing up his cheeks and punching them to make a golf ball sound.
I love Gutenberg like bailing on the other, like he had better things to do in the Police Academy.
I love that Gutenberg had better judgment than Johnny Depp in terms of sequels, like bailing before number 5.
There's a Police Academy episode of Jump Street, which we will get to, called Fear and Loathing with Russell Buckins. which Hansen, of course, somehow has the option to bail on the Academy order mandate from his police captain, and Penhall has to go through it. It just doesn't make any sense that he'd get away with that.
Right.
Hansen gets away with everything.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lopez is out in another movie, wedding movie, says John O'Reilly.
Oh, God.
Danny Depp sounds like Johnny Drama. It does. Well, that's funny, G Canada. There is a lot of, you know, in Entourage, I see this all the time. So much of that movie is based on Depp's life, but more so Amber Heard's life, because the character Johnny Drama, his entourage is just like Amber Heard's entourage. And the similarities are endless. He goes and does Aquaman. She does Mira, who's Aquaman's wife. His sister is Whitney Heard. They have all and they're kind of running around, and she comes from, it's actually, Vincent Chase is just, Amber Heard is the female Vincent Chase, in my opinion. Even though Marky Mark is the executive producer of it, he claims it's all based on him and his brother Donnie Wahlberg. I think it's much more like Amber Heard's life, as I think about it. If you get a chance, guys, watch Entourage and tell me, and I want you to think of Amber Heard, what you know about her from the trial, and draw a parallel to Vincent Chase.
It's so funny because Amber's entourage reminds me, like, Woody Allen always includes like a party scene in his movies where it's like a New Yorker cartoon come to life, and they're all just like affected, you know, like highbrow faux intellectual caricatures. And that's sort of what that Coachella set reminds me of, like this faux bohemian. They don't have their own personalities. Set of people.
No, well, that was kind of, Depp had said that one of his confessionals in the original UK transcripts we read. I think I actually narrated it. Is he basically says exactly that. He goes, she just researched me and kind of cloned my interest. And like, if you were going on a job interview, you would know about the person. You go, okay, this is the way I'm going to dazzle them. I'm going to learn what they like and know.
Of course.
And I'm going to give them something they haven't heard from the first 10 people that went before me.
Yeah, even if you didn't have intentions to grift them in their personal lives, you would know about their past work so that you could make yourself, at the very least professionally, relatable to them. You know?
And one of the ways Depp is, no pun intended, self-deprecating, where he gets... I would question, this is like pussyfoggery 101 and, you know, casting couchness. He's like going, you know, he never once stopped and says, why is this girl 25 years younger than me into the same beat poets into it? Makes they're not you. You genuinely like this stuff. With you have like, you know, you could give an index and you can give like a you know, of why you like it and stuff. Which with her, she comes in there. He never once said, why is this girl 25 years younger than me into William Burroughs and Allen Ginsberg and Thompson and all the same movies? It doesn't make any sense.
It's willful ignorance. That's part of the pussyfoggery, is willful ignorance. Deep down, he knows that. I'm sure deep down, he knew, like, I'm maybe being conned here, but I want to believe it because, you know, she's whatever he thought about her sexually, he just wanted to have a chance at that, you know.
No, that's the very definition of pussy fog, and you frame that beautifully. That's exactly, so willful ignorance is something that we've probably all been subjected to, but this is, you know, he insisted on interviewing her, and he got in front of cockblock Bruce Robinson while he was still with Vanessa, and they were back and forth, and this goes on, you know, they weren't married, but he definitely had some correspondence going with her all throughout. Don't think for a second they reunited during the premiere. That's fine. He's got his flaws, and that's one of them. He was seduced.
Right. And I'm sure he didn't think it was going to turn into this fatal attraction situation, you know? So yeah, I can see how, and also, as nice a guy as he is and as grounded as he can be, he's still a multimillionaire who probably is not being told no enough, or
Especially at
think,
that point, you're talking about when he
yeah,
did the Rum Diary, he was at the top of the world.
right,
He was just one hit after the next. He had the artistic integrity to go along with the commercial hits.
right,
That's a year where he's at the pinnacle of the peak of his powers.
yeah,
Really. And you're right. I mean, he's not going to be told no for anything. That's how you can get a movie like The Rum Diary made, and it didn't turn a profit. You could
yeah,
just take any. If you know Thompson's work, it's not even close to the most interesting thing to be made. So he just said because
yeah,
Thompson never had it made, he'd never had it published. He just said, "I'm going to make a promise to a friend, and I'm going
yeah,
to publish this, and I'm going to have the movie made from it." It's not translatable to screen. It's not.
mm,
It's very. It's if you took all the things that make Hunter S. Thompson interesting and make a film out of it. Take away all the things that make
oh,
Thompson interesting.
right, okay,
Strip him from. Make a stripped down, boring version of the original Thompson, from Fear and Loathing.
right, okay,
And we're not going to make him look like Thompson. We're going to make him look like Depp.
Mhm.
right, yeah, right.
What do we got next?
So it's just so this is just going to wrap this Bruckheimer thing.
Sure. This newest development is definitely a huge deal for not just Johnny Depp, but also for his fans, since previously it had been reported that Johnny's franchise was completely dead in the water. Pirates of the Caribbean producer Jerry Bruckheimer has had 2 future movies in the works. One is
Okay, this is infuriating. Her mispronunciations. I can't believe you would make them like a production like this, put it on YouTube and mispronounce every other word. It's crazy. Some of the words she says Sega instead of Saga later on.
I know it's a real person talking, but it reminds me of like one of those like algorithmic robot things that you just type in the words and it'll say it, and you can't get the pronunciation right on words like Bruckheimer.
Right. So So that's. I wonder if that is a program. But
Yeah.
this is. It sounds like a real person.
No, it
Pirates
does.
6 and the other is a Margaret Robbie-led spin-off. The Aussie actress recently
Okay. She just pronounced Margot Robbie Margaret Robbie with she hit the T.
Jones Rooney at the bottom of the chat says AI narration. I as I think about that
He's
now.
not sure though. He's not sure. He's a question mark.
Okay, yeah.
told Vanity Fair that her movie is now dead, adding, "I guess they don't want to do it." However, Bruckheimer has now confirmed this isn't the case, just that they want to focus on Pirates 6 first. Now, what could that possibly be? Is it because they're trying to Johnny on board after he famously said he would never go back to Disney after the way they ditched him? Bruckheimer told Collider, "I think that script will come forward at a certain point. We developed 2 different stories for Pirates and the other one's going forward first, so that's what we're working on, to try to get that one made." In the summer, he told Comic Book that the original cast from the first film, The Curse of the Black Pearl, will be returning. "I'm very excited. It's going to be terrific. We're just working on the screenplay. One of the original writers, Ted Elliott, is helping write it. He has a great command of the characters. It's not guaranteed that Captain Jack will appear or make a cameo, but considering what Depp has said about wanting to give his character a proper send-off, surely he can be persuaded. Earlier this year, it was rumored that executives wanted him to return for a 6th film and a Disney Plus spin-off series in a $300 million agreement. Disney was rumored to be interested in having Depp return after he won his landmark legal battle against his ex-wife, Amber Heard, in June. So, do you think we'll see Johnny in the Pirates franchise anytime soon? Let us know in the comments.
If I were to want Depp to have a press conference, I would want him to shut this down mightily.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of this rumor. I cannot tell you the shit he went through with Disney. You shouldn't want him to be. And by the way, if you're a fan of his, you don't get the whole cancel thing with him. Oh, Depp is canceled. He's got to get his life and career back. It's only based on Disney and Warner Brothers. Everybody got nuts over it because of those 2 major conglomerations don't want to work with him, or they're worried about the and by the way, it's more than any kind of Me Too thing. It's an insurance issue, it's money, it's time, it's lateness on set, it's physical, it's lying on a physical with Dr. Kipper. It's much more than just a Me Too. So you shouldn't want it because you should be ashamed, by the way, if you're a fan, if you let Disney and Warner Brothers ostracize him. They don't get to tell you how to spend your entertainment dollar.
Right.
You decide whether he's canceled. You support him. You don't let Warner Brothers and Disney tell you what to see. What does that mean? So what? They're not working with them. You shouldn't want them to, because the worst of his movies are probably wrought from them.
Right. Well, and also, like, this rumor mill just is a way to push market forces that maybe they have no intention of making a Pirates movie with him, but it somehow sort of brings more aware. It's almost like advertising, for the remember Pirates of the Caribbean? Like,
of course,
it's a subliminal way to get you to remember that those movies exist, so that you'll go watch them on Disney Plus or go to Disneyland to ride the ride or whatever.
Yes, keep wetting the palate with familiarity.
Yeah, right.
Just keep the name on the tongues of everybody where it won't fade. But again,
everybody's talking about me. Yeah.
He's only canceled if you let him be canceled. If you listen to Warner Brothers and Disney.
Right.
I don't let them decide what there was no with me during the trial. I don't let 7 strangers tell me their jury verdict. Tell me what to do and what to spend my entertainment dollar. Who I'm fine canceled. He's not canceled in my eyes. You might let Warner Brothers and Disney tell you who's canceled. I don't. So that's
I was just agree. I mean, it's exactly what you said. It's they don't care about the public, the socio-political discourse. It's all about money. And
I say that all the time, right? So if it's because Alice in Wonderland 2 radically underperformed and Pirates 5 radically underperformed. That's what it's about,
right?
And Fantastic Beasts didn't do well. The one he did. It's a Harry Potter movie.
Right. Yeah.
So that's really what it was about. Don't think for a second David's so right. They care about any kind of social statements or integrity of any kind.
I was one of 7 people in the theater in Fantastic Beasts when I saw it. It was so, and it was not a good movie, I mean, and he's only in it at the very end, but no one saw it. Do
you find they exhausted the Harry Potter franchise at that point where it's like, all right, enough?
Yeah. I mean, what's so weird about that series, like the 7 original books, is the first 3 became like multinational successes. And so when J.K. Rowling had to write the last 4, it's almost like the Game of Thrones thing, where it's like the TV show is informing George Martin like how to write the future books, rather than the books are already an established. It's like a wag the dog kind of thing. Like, so and I don't know much about. I read the original 7 Harry Potter books when I was younger, but I didn't read any of her other books.
And is it possible people aren't even aware that this is a Harry Potter spinoff?
I think that was part of it too, was like it wasn't clear what it was. It felt like a new sort of fantasy franchise.
Like put Harry Potter in parenthesis above Fantastic Beasts so people even know it's affiliated with it.
I think they tried to use like a similar font. Like they're doing all the sort of advertising tricks to make you as a consumer realize it's part of the same universe, but it didn't work.
Speaking of Depp categories for future Deppy Awards, we have another one. I think it was either Hooper or I think it was Hooper. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not in the chat if you remember, of In Memoriam. So all these Depp affiliates who have passed away, and it is a monster list. It doesn't have to be in the last year. It just could be like in the last 10 years or whatever. And it's a monster list of heavy hitters of Brando to Thompson to Robbie Coltrane. That's why I thought
Harry Potter.
It's on Tom Petty. These are all really good friends of his that have passed away. So that's In Memoriam. It's a really, really eclectic list. It's crazy.
Yeah.
When I put it together, I started to work on it the other day. All right, so this is Johnny Depp. And so speaking of A-list actors, this is Jerry Bruckheimer getting his star on the Walk of Fame. And I will try to buzz through this.
Congratulate you, and speaking on behalf of the Walt Disney Company and the millions of people that you've entertained over the last 4 decades, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We literally have a who's who of Hollywood here today. I can't introduce everyone, but I would like to acknowledge a few of you. If you'd please wave to the crowd as I introduce you. We have several Walk of Fame honorees.
it never stops, like the class system in Hollywood to destroy someone's self-esteem here, self-esteem. Like, well, we're only going to talk about the A-listers. You might as well just say that, you peons. We're only going to bring up the A-listers. Just say it. Just say it.
Right.
Who've received their stars before, including actor Tom Cruise, and we have actor Jon Voight,
Just driving around and
Walk of Fame honoree Marg Helgenberger,
just driving around in John Voight's
actor
car.
Jerry O'Connell,
Jerry O'Connell. What are you doing there? Oh my God.
Why isn't he on Stern Fan Roundtable?
How was he available for this?
Honestly,
He is a canceled like sitcom or every other week on network TV. If you look at the list of shows he had that went 3 up, it's crazy how much shit he has that just fails over and over
he
again.
can't outdo Stand By Me. Yeah.
I don't know what his most successful thing is, like in contemporary times.
actress Isla Fisher, George Eads of CSI.
Okay, I just noticed something in the crowd.
CSI.
Look at the doppelganger. There's a guy in a white hat.
Oh yeah.
Oh God,
you're right.
Look at this. I didn't even know.
Oh my God, you're right.
Look at this guy.
Totally.
Okay, so if you're looking at this, and if you're just listening to this, the audio on Jon Voight's left, there's a Johnny Depp doppelganger impersonator wearing all his accoutrements with the hat. Just a very, very, very like parody of himself.
Yeah.
Doppelganger. Right, and Jerry O'Connell's on Jon Voight's right.
George Eads of CSI. Baseball great Cal Ripken.
Wow.
Director Gore Verbinski.
He directed Pirates, by the
Okay.
way.
Yeah.
Okay. And Lone Ranger.
Actor Martin Lawrence.
Interesting.
Comedian John Lovitz. And Walk of Fame honoree Rick Dees.
What?
Rick Dees?
Wow. Quite a turnout.
Disco Duck himself.
So
One of
please
Howard's
welcome the man
nemesis.
who has played Jack Sparrow in all the Pirates of the Caribbean films. Please welcome Johnny Depp.
One of my dreams is to have Depp and Cal Ripken Jr. in the same podium, and my wish finally came true. The real Iron Man.
Right.
These days, the word legend gets bandied around all too easily, but
He's right. He's right.
not here and not today. My path was fortunate, very fortunate enough to collide with this man
John Lovitz.
some years ago, and certainly since my
They're friends.
collaboration
actually,
with
Depp
Jerry,
and
my life has never been the same.
Lovitz. I think Tracy
And
Jacobs
probably won't be
represented.
for a while anyway.
I want to see Depp, Marilyn Manson, and John Lovitz in a hot tub
Well, he's
together.
bigger than life. He's Jerry Bruckheimer, you know. But over the years of working together, Jerry's become a dear friend, certainly, and a trusted comrade in battle. There are a few people that I would rather have in my
Johnny Depp is my friend. Jealous, everyone. Acting.
corner than this.
Actually, doesn't John Lovitz actually sound like Ed Wood in his real speaking voice?
Um,
And action and cut.
I think that's more his persona voice. His real voice is
It's a little. I know, but he doesn't know how to turn off that thing.
true. He started stand up when he was like 60, which is always
Yeah.
good.
It was when you run out of is when you don't get
Yeah.
any. Those guys who turn to he was an improv actor. He was in the
Right.
Groundlings,
and now he's doing
he never did
stand-up.
stand up. Yeah, no, they always go to that when there's no offers.
He's
'Cause
doing
it's
that
just-
awful that thing Gary did, the Gotham comedy thing where the audience is like SAG after people and they're forced to laugh at your stand up.
They're showing up to see you, not your comedy.
Right.
Just like you're there, you're famous first, and then people are just gonna laugh at everything you say.
Right.
Because you're famous.
Yeah.
This man right here. The man's a legend to me. He's a legend to us all. Hence this congregation to celebrate him for his long-deserved star on the Walk of Fame. I
Kentucky
for
boy
one,
with
could
an
not be
English
more
accent.
honored to be here. And I'm humbled to be here. So let's all celebrate the legend that is Jerry Bruckheimer.
Look at Depp's look here. Now, don't you think, and Sarah, please weigh in on this is what he should have gone with in the trial?
He doesn't look like this anymore.
No, but if just this hairstyle and the glasses, I think this is what I would have gone. This is one of my looks that I would have gone with. I would have narrowed it down to 3 of them. This would have been one of them.
I'm not gonna. The first few days, yes, I would agree with you. After he combed his hair and put it back, no, I think he looked fine.
Nah, the ponytail's got to go.
Yeah, you'll
Especially
be
in
okay.
Fairfax. It's got to go.
And one final question. Where is the bloody rum?
Jerry!
Why is the rum gone?
Keep cashing those checks, Jerry.
Honestly.
Whatever happened to no tattoos in court, Sarah? How about no ponytails and no 5 earrings in each lobe?
How did it work out for him?
I know, but you think that helped any?
It didn't hurt.
You could have easily had one juror just go, "Fuck that! Who's wearing a ponytail pushing 60?"
Nobody
Hell
is under
no.
any delusion of what Depp isn't or is. You know, he's got, especially now the last 5 years, he's kind of a guy, he's kind of fallen apart a little bit. He's a little dirty. He's got tattoos. He wears rings. Everybody knows this. He shows up like Mark Vanderloo in 1994. People are going to, what is he doing?
Who am I,
Also-
Mark Vanderloo over here?
Also, I'm sure the jury and everybody connected with the courtroom was just so starstruck anyway that
Good point.
Good
point. That's a good point. There is definitely like a star, but I guess I'm so hyper analyzing everything, but I still I think it's too important. I think it's too monumental epic thing to have it even remotely the chance of being tripped up by some stupid, like a parody of yourself, where some juror is going to go, "Oh, fuck this guy in his ponytail."
Like if I was in the jury for real, like if I was actually there in the jury, I wouldn't even be hearing people's testimony because I'd just be like, I'm in the same room as Johnny Depp, like, every day.
Definitely.
And I'd probably say that he was innocent even if I wasn't listening because I want to be on the right side of history for when Tubi makes the TV movie about it.
G Canada's got a good point. It didn't help in the UK trial. I agree. It didn't help at all. He lost all
the
the
only
14
legitimate
cases.
trial.
Gunga Din. Sarah, hope you feel better from the great Gunga Din.
I will, Gunga Din, as soon as we get to the main event here.
So on behalf of the city, I'm happy to present this reso to you. And let's just stop for the press.
How interesting that they chose Depp over Tom Cruise to do this at this point. That's how big he was.
What year was this that they did this?
2013.
Huh.
And Tom Cruise again. When has he not been at the peak of his powers?
I wonder if people were sort of at their peak Scientology fear of Tom Cruise.
Good point.
Maybe they couldn't afford a lift.
That's true.
Hydraulic lift to lift him up to the microphone.
I think you have to clear it with Miss Cabbage too at the same time.
Miss Cabbage would waddle up those stairs and get on all fours so Tom Cruise could stand on his back.
Totally.
Davyd, are you into the Scientology? Just like the deep dive on it and the creepiness of it?
A little bit. It's funny. My string quartet was approached by the Scientology Celebrity Center to play background music for an event that they were going to do. And I don't know why the contractor of my quartet went down to meet at the Celebrity Center to talk about the possibility of playing for them. I don't know why she did, but she said that they kept her there for 3 hours. Like they would
course.
not let her go. They had to give her the tour, and
Yep.
and she wrote down a fake phone number when they asked
Yep.
for her information. So yeah, it's crazy.
I know somebody at work who ordered the Dianetics book
Oh
in
my God.
1988,
Yeah.
and they still are trying to reach that person.
Oh my
Oh my
God.
God.
hmm
That's
It's
insane.
scary.
Yeah,
So they have a
that's really
whole
scary.
team of people working on backlog of people who
Yeah.
inquired about them
Yeah.
in 1988.
Especially right now, they're very desperate because
Yeah.
they are going down the toillet.
To
Totally.
give you an idea, there were Dianetics commercials during the original airing of 21 Jump Street.
Yeah. hmm
Oh,
Isn't that crazy?
that
I
is
remember
crazy.
watching my soap operas with my aunt during the summer, and like, what are all these volcano commercials? What the hell
I
is
know, we
this?
didn't know. It was so bizarre to see what that was, right? I thought it was like an animated series at the time.
Yeah, I
What's
don't.
going on?
I was like, this is above my head. I knew that then. I was like, this is too adult for me. And then I found out Dianetics. I was like, oh, what's this? No,
But as it
we're not
turns
going
out,
there.
it was as stupid as you think it is because it's really just spaceman stuff.
Yeah.
Space invasion crap.
Mhm.
Battlefield Earth with Travolta, right? I mean, that's
Right.
all Scientology screenplay.
It was an attempt by a loon back in the 50s to not have to pay taxes. So
Right.
he
Yeah.
created a religion.
Did Leah Remini say that as well? Did she say that? Has she ever said that? Like it's a tax evasion
You've
thing?
watched the show.
No, but I've never heard her say that. I've never
Yes,
heard
they
her.
have said that multiple times.
I understand you heard it first.
You need to pay attention when you watch it. It's said every other sentence.
Sorry, Liz Cheney.
Ay,
Sometimes my
ay.
mind wanders. It's creative mind of mine. Sometimes I'm
You think about
in my
Depp and his
5 places.
ponytail. How you want to pull it.
Depp, speaking of Depp, so yeah, I remember an interview with him a long time ago where he talked about being approached by the Scientology people and how he handled it. I think it was the early 90s, an interview I read with him. Could have been the Playboy interview in 95 with Pam Anderson on the cover. By the way, I want to thank Boff, who excavated my published letter in Rolling Stone.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, from 1998. He fucking found it. He gave me the
God.
damn page for it. I don't know how I'm gonna pull it up here. This is the time to do it. Maybe I'll try to do it at the end.
No, we will do it in the next episode. We have too much to do today. I don't want this can't for my health. This cannot be 5 hours.
Oh, okay. Well, it's called money, Debbie. That's what she went. Okay, so
Well,
this is something this is something I pulled. Have you been to Clearwater, Florida? Anyone?
No.
That's Scientology
the
ground
center.
zero.
Yeah. Right.
Remember we used to hear about Travolta, the plane, the airstrip he had and shit.
Yeah.
Was that in Clearwater? Was that like where?
I don't know. It was in Florida. I don't remember where.
It's no coincidence that's where he went during all that time.
Yeah.
So this is my last thing before we get to the legalese and Brown and Rudnick. This is a thing I found. Thank you, Depp_head forever. Depp, I guess this is like in the last week, doing nunchucks in a green room, dressing room. If any sports fans are there, what is the jersey on the couch? It is driving me crazy. Is it the Patriots? Is it the number 50?
Just remember, it could be a gift to him, just like a random jersey. Just like a generic fill in the blank jersey. It doesn't
Like a
have to be
novelty
anything.
jersey.
Yeah.
It's again, I don't know if it's custom made, but the last name on the back, it's not exactly Depp. I don't know what that is.
You guys want to quick? You guys want to quick?
That's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
No, but I would.
You guys want to?
We got to send this to Dustin Gwen, Sarah. We got to Aoki.
No, for
A
safety
legitimate
reasons.
martial arts master.
For safety reasons, I would have him remove the hat, the scarf that's hanging to his ankle, and any accoutrement before he swung those things around.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
By the way, how great of a GIF would this be for your own, like on a message board? Just him doing this. People would just be like, "What the hell? Where'd you get that?"
He had to
That'd be
learn this. He had to learn this to defend himself against Amber Heard.
He should walk around with nunchucks. It would actually be more respectable if he walked around with nunchucks than a scarf. And what he has hanging out of his wallet chain right now on the side.
Hey, growing up in the 80s, that was badass. If you
Oh
knew
God,
somebody
ninjas
had that,
were huge.
yeah.
Davyd, like speaking of like cartoon scores,
Yeah.
You said Cowabunga in the beginning. It was all about nunchucks in the
Yeah.
80s, from fucking Panthro and Thundercats to Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes to
Right.
all those like action hero animated series based on. It was all about ninjas in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. And dancing.
Yeah.
And dancing. Ninjas and dancing. So I mean, God damn it, Davyd, if you could musical score him doing the nunchucks right there and send it to INFINITUM NIHIL.
I need a gong sound.
Yeah, I'll do the most stereotypical Asian music ever. Yeah. That'll get me a job.
That's what they did to Aoki on Jump Street.
Right.
They gave him like stereotypical every time he came on screen.
Totally.
Okay, so this is Court TV. This is Depp's legal team talking about their behind-the-scenes strategies and stuff we may or may not know. And I was interested. A lot of it's confirmed my theories about what they were doing, about optics and stuff. And let's hear what Camille Vasquez, Ben Chu, and the others have to say.
We dedicate this to Melvin, and this is a fair use watch of a Court TV program. Thank you, Court TV. We are going to be transforming content, and let's get going.
And by the way, to you, Davyd, and Sarah, obviously, and everyone in the chat, welcome to the Brown-Rudnick family.
Spotlight for over 30 years, an A-list celebrity who at one point was the highest paid movie actor in history. His list of acting credits is long, but on the top is his portrayal of Captain Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean series of movies. This role made him lots of money and exposed him to a whole new legion of fans.
That is true. That is true. A lot of the humanoids jumped on the bandwagon in 2003.
Right.
Johnny Depp met fellow actor Amber Heard when they shot a movie together in Puerto Rico called The Rum Diary. They fell in love while on the road promoting the movie and entered into a dysfunctional, tumultuous marriage that ended quickly. But after their final divorce settlement agreement, Amber wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post talking about being a victim of domestic violence. This op-ed was the reason Johnny sued Amber for defamation. It was a case that many thought was impossible to win. A public figure suing for defamation in the United States is not the type of case that is considered winnable. But as the world watched, Johnny did win, not only inside the courtroom, but in the court of public opinion. How did he do it? Tonight, we get in-depth insight into the trial of the year as Camille Vasquez and other members of Johnny's legal team speak with Court TV's Chanley Painter. And Johnny's lead attorney, Ben Chu, joins us live. For the next hour, we go behind the scenes in part one of our special look at Johnny Depp's legal team.
Hi, I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. This
Vinny,
is
you were
a
horrible during the whole
special
trial.
hour here on Closing Arguments, part one of our two-part special, taking a look at the trial of the year, the decade, I think really the trial of this century. Anyhow, when we think of legal teams, the first one that comes to mind for me was O.J. Simpson's so-called dream team.
By the way, does everybody realize John O'Reilly loves Ben Chu? He loves him. Every time I can't even think of Ben without not thinking of John O'Reilly and all the Washington D.C. steakhouse jokes and Sharper catalog jokes you think during the Ben ordering stuff. I should say this is no joke. Camille Vasquez is a understudy of Robert Shapiro.
Oh.
Kardashian fame and OJ trial. He was her mentor.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Swear to God.
That seemed to win a case that many thought couldn't be won. O.J. Simpson accused of double murder. There was the car chase. Everything was pointing towards O.J. Simpson is a double.
John O'Reilly is right. Ben Chu got Sudoku Player of the Year after the trial. Sudoku and gummy bears, right, Sarah?
Murderer. O.J. Simpson is going to go to prison for the rest of his life. At the end of the day, that dream team of lawyers convinced the jury that there was reasonable doubt. And O.J. Simpson was found not guilty. And that was quite an accomplishment. And for Johnny Cochran and everyone else who was a member of that team, it was a big, big deal. Really big deal.
Oh, God, come on.
But I want to compare what they
He's got to fill time.
did with what Johnny Depp was up against. Because Johnny Depp's trial is different. It wasn't a criminal case. It's a defamation case, which is different. In a criminal trial,
take the chat off.
To win as a defense attorney, you just have to raise a reasonable doubt. And no offense to criminal defense attorneys. In a criminal trial aimed at public figure, the burden is even greater and more difficult. Now, for Johnny Depp, don't forget, before this trial ever happened, there was a trial over in the UK. Johnny lost that case. And different system of justice, a judge, one person made the decision for whatever that's worth. But in that case that Johnny lost, the burden was on the other side because it's the UK. Their system is a little backwards. Anyhow.
Okay, come on.
So he comes into the team of attorneys who are bringing it, are figuring out who should Depp's legal team. Chanley Painter, Court TV legal correspondent, who was there for the whole trial from start to finish, sat down with Camille Vasquez and some other members of the team. Let's take.
You know, there's a part of me that feels sorry for Court TV because they really said we're going to cover it. We're putting cameras in. And then everybody jumped on the bandwagon. And then nobody cared about Court TV anymore. Right. He was watching like Law and Crime and stuff like that. And you may not like some people on Court TV, but they started the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking like a guy who didn't read the book he was giving a book report on. He was.
That's how it was through the entire trial. What are you doing?
Interesting. Okay.
Cliff notes. I put it back in because I thought it was there was a sequence problem.
Camille Vasquez and some other members of the team. Let's take a look.
Who is Camille Vasquez?
Who is Camille Vasquez?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Okay, I want to say this up front. There are 8 affiliates to Brown-RUDNICK, and the locations are, as it goes here, Boston in no particular order. Boston, Hartford, Connecticut, which is a bizarre place to be. London, Connecticut, New York City, Times Square, right in the center, which is where they are right now. Orange County, California, Providence, Rhode Island, and Washington, D.C., which is where the trial was in Bench. So they have 7 affiliates around.
The first 4 locations are the only places on the globe Howard has been to, by the way.
Has he been to Providence? No, right?
But Hartford, Boston. He's been to
Washington.
London.
Yeah, right. Washington. Good one. Right,
Washington,
right. Very true. No Detroit, though.
Yeah, true.
I agree, Kaula. Camille has the cutest, most endearing laugh, and I believe it helps with the optics.
Makes up for Chanley Painter's voice.
Yeah, I was gonna say I do love Camille, but I wonder if Chandler, what is her name? Chanley
Painter.
Okay, Chanley's voice is going to encourage Camille to do the same pointy voice talking that she does.
That clicky.
Yeah.
John O'Reilly says Hartford is the insurance capital of the United States, and that's why their law firm is there. Thank you, John. I had no idea. I had no idea about that. I know the Whalers and Ron Francis, and that's about it.
You know, I think what you see is what you get. My parents have 2 girls. I am an aunt. I am a friend and a colleague. I was pretty much told that I was going to be a lawyer. I guess I was a pretty mouthy child, and I had opinions about a lot of things.
Sarah, Camille's 39 now, 38, 39. Not married. She's got a boyfriend, long-term boyfriend. I don't think she's engaged, no kids, in her late 30s. She became a partner after the trial, as you all heard. Whatever that means, I don't know how many partners there could be in this Brown-RUDNICK, but she became a, quote, partner.
Things, and I expressed them passionately.
Who is Jessica Meyers?
I am a woman who grew up in Massachusetts. I knew from a very young age I wanted to be an attorney. In high school, I read To Kill a Mockingbird and was sort of sold on advocating for people.
So tell me about yourself.
Well, I grew up in California, grew up in Sacramento.
Is this what you've always wanted to do?
Be a lawyer? No. I wound up in law school because I couldn't think of what else to do with my life.
His name never comes up. So this gentleman's name is Samuel Moniz, M-O-N-I-Z. Moniz, however it's pronounced. But his name never comes up. You saw him throughout. He's got to be in his early 30s, maybe. So these are people that
he has too exotic a last name for how dorky he looks.
Exactly. Very Ed Norton-ish right there. On the right.
Yeah, totally.
There's Amy Schumer on the left.
I had no real plan coming out of college, but I seemed to have a certain aptitude for law. I'm naturally argumentative.
How did you come to even represent Johnny Depp?
We were handling a couple litigations out of California, so I was staffed on those cases. And at that time, I was one of the few women on the team. And I think that being a woman helped me forge a relationship with Johnny that maybe some of the male partners didn't have. And I was able to learn probably more about him than he knows about himself, as I say to him sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I was actually originally brought into the case because Ms. Heard had filed, I believe it was her second demur, which, is a motion to dismiss. And this was, I think, probably her strongest one. It was making the argument that the statements were not defamatory because they never mentioned Johnny. So I was brought in to brief that.
I wasn't immediately involved in that, but pretty quickly things began to spiral and they needed more hands on the team. So Camille said, want to jump on board? And I said, fine.
We believed in Johnny, first and foremost. We believed in him, we believed in our case strategy, and we believed in one another. We were really confident in our abilities to present this case in the most effective, truthful, and passionate way.
Welcome, Rooster Fontaine. The UK is the only place where money doesn't talk. Well said. Probably somewhat true. Welcome, Brendan, Fuji Vice, a.k.a. law firms are like tag teams. It's always a wrestler. You could always count on Brendan to fuse pro wrestling into every situation. Law firms are like tag teams. 2 partners, 3 max. I remember the 8-man tag team. Being a partner, says John Riley, means you get a team to work for, and you get a slice of the profits. It's not a fixed salary. Okay, thank you, sir. Johnny banked Camille, 100%. No, I don't think so.
I don't know.
That's too much, that war room. I don't think so. That's such a simpleton state of mind, G. Cannon. I'm disappointed in you. And I should say, so they deliberately chose these people because it was a youth movement. They wanted the younger lawyers because it made them more in tune with this whole. And it made someone like I say it all the Jessica Meyers and Camille look like if they're not believing Amber Heard, who will? And they're very likable people. You look at them and you kind of, they don't look sleazy to me. They just don't off the optics. And I don't know. I have to believe that's how they put it together.
And we all should know already, but Jessica Meyers is the one that questioned Depp on the stand.
Yes, it doesn't come up nearly enough. I don't know. People gloss over that, and she just doesn't. She's probably a very underrated part of this whole thing.
I had a problem with her when Rottenborn would object. She would just like, oh, okay, we'll ask the next question.
Yeah, I agree.
You got to fight back, sweetie.
Little snarky.
Need help.
Definitely.
Smack him.
Yep.
Yeah. And also the fact that they were younger probably gave the impression that they weren't sleazy. Like with age as a lawyer comes sleaziness as you get more stuff,
Yes, they're untainted by the
they still believe in something as young people.
Yep. Great point. They looked earnest about what they were doing too. You could see through a lot of times, and I don't think you could see through them. I believe they believed in what they were doing when I watched it. And I'm as cynical as anybody.
Yeah.
I'll call it out if I don't. I believe they believed in what they were doing when I watched it.
Yeah.
That we could. I think in our case here in the US, we really focused on the big lies, not every single lie, and exposing her to be untruthful.
John O'Reilly has a great point here. I doubt anything sexual happened between Johnny and Camille. It's an ethics problem and a violation for Camille. And yeah, this trial is way too big to risk it on anything like that. I couldn't agree more, sir. Thank
I
you
also didn't get like a sexual tension vibe from them. I know other people did.
I didn't either.
That when the reason people got a vibe from them was in the beginning. This was all planned. They had to make it look like an attractive woman was getting the attention of Johnny Depp within the eyesight of Amber Heard
Right.
to put her on edge and make her compete with a woman much more attractive than her for a man.
Yeah.
So by the time that they were able to get her on the stand for their cross-examination, Amber Heard could only react with you can see when she would turn her attention back to Camille for 2 seconds. She had just like pure hatred in her eyes. And then she would turn back to the jury for 10 straight minutes and
Right.
weep. And then
Right.
the emotions would shut off. But anyway, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
But
totally.
all that was a setup, and they did it masterfully.
Yeah.
And a strong left-wing woman doesn't believe her at the same time. Shouldn't be
Yes.
on board with
Yeah.
her narrative. She's on Depp's side. You know, she's a liberal left-wing woman who doesn't believe Amber Heard's narrative. That's
you
the
can never
last
have
thing
Ben
she needs.
Chu cross-examine Amber Heard.
That's a good
Oh,
point.
yeah,
And I
no,
wanted to hear
that's-
more from Chu, but you're right. You're
He
absolutely
was
right.
he was the maestro, no pun intended here,
Yeah.
of this entire team. He was the one controlling everything.
Yeah, it was like a
Right.
player coach.
If I remember, Johnny, when he was on the stand, he would actually answer questions and look at the person who was questioning him. And I feel
Mhm.
like Amber was constantly trying to play to the jury with her answers as opposed to Camille, as if she
Yeah.
almost couldn't face her. You know.
hmm And it's not even that she would turn her head. She would lift her entire head up and swivel it to the jury.
Yes.
She killed her entire case.
Very actressly. Yeah.
Oh.
Right.
You really know this trial backward and forward, Sarah. You really do. I mean, you
Do you know how many times I probably watched this straight through, just looking for clips for this show
Right.
and things that we've done? At least all the way through 4 times, I would say.
Okay, well, that's a lot of. I mean,
Oh, I'm
it's
sure.
a lot of hours. I don't know if I put it all together. The hours, total hours in terms of it's crazy. I don't know if I could. Like I said, there's no movie he's ever going to do that's going to equal this level of entertainment.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
no time you're ever not going to go back to this.
Well,
No
and
matter
two,
who you
also,
are.
I work 11 hours a day. When I have nothing to listen to, I'll just go to a random court day.
Totally.
Keep it on in the
go-to.
background.
Absolutely. There's a great conversation going on. The Rooster Fontaine, he says, asks John O'Reilly, is it really unethical for a lawyer to quote screw their client? Amber looks like an angel here, says going in. John O'Reilly says back, by Rooster, it is very unethical. You can lose your law license if you have sex with a client.
Wow.
Didn't
I
know
mean,
that.
I could see, I get what he's saying, where it's like, you know, she's on his side, so it's not like Elaine fucking Depp, you know, where like she's
Yeah, like
doing
you would
counsel for
believe in this
Amber.
person, right? A bias, but I see what he's saying. I mean, Johnny was very adept at controlling the pace of the Q&A. Camille didn't let Amber do that. Great point, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, Depp. I think it was Josh Richmond, right, Sarah, in that interview we listened to, that said he was deliberately doing a Christopher Walken impersonation during it.
Mhm.
The cadence, anyway. Not so much an straight up impersonation, but the cadence.
Well, before the trial even started, he was photographed outside of his lawyer's office. Apparently they were going over their plan and they were laying everything out, every possibility for days, for like 2 or 3 straight days for him, you know, an entire day, 8 hours at a time. So he was completely prepared. They did it correctly. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
I want to say too, this Josh Richmond, who I bring up constantly, you know, I've recently found there's a ton of shots of him because we didn't know what he looks like now. So he plays, and you're going to see this, Davyd, in the Jump Street. He played Ronnie Seabach on 21 Jump Street. There's a 2-part episode called Besieged in season 2. He comes back again in season 4, and they put him on death row for lethal injection because he kills a cop. So in the
God.
the fourth season, when Depp has, as Sarah says, 9 toes out the door,
Yeah.
they recruit a new black male cop on the Jump Street crew. This is just, he's
Okay.
like a one and done episode. He comes in and he pushes too hard with Ronnie Seabach and some drug. Seabach shoots him, and Seabach gets the chair. And then Depp has to Hansen has to convince him in prison to do a video warning kids to stay off drugs. As a cautionary tale. So he keeps going back to death row trying to convince death row Ronnie Seabach. This Josh Richmond, who knew Depp from the LA scene. This Josh Richmond also was like I don't even know how to describe this guy's life. He's in the rock community where he directed Guns N' Roses videos. Really huge songs. So he's in that whole scene.
cry.
He's a confidant of don't cry. Thank you, Sarah. Of Depp, and he's in the pictures walking in and out of the trial with a cane and a beard.
wow.
He's unrecognizable. And I got these the other day, and he's interviewed a few times, and he explains what they were doing behind the scenes. And that's where I got the walking thing from.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
I'm Ronnie Seabach, and I know a lot about drugs.
So was it like a PSA within the episode? Like it wasn't even
it wasn't that preachy. It wasn't that sanctimonious. It was done where they were trying to say to him, look, man, you're gonna die, you know. By the way, Rosie Perez is in this episode, right? It's the first thing she did after Do the Right Thing.
Oh wow.
And it was done where it's like saying, okay, dude, you're gonna die. You want to do some good in this world, make a videotape just telling kids.
So weird.
Just don't do what I did. And he doesn't. And what I love about Jump Street, as for the times as it was, is they don't wrap things up in a nice ending. He's now, fuck you, I'm not doing it. He's like, no, I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not telling kids to do it. I'm just not going to do it.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay.
So he just keeps going back to prison, telling them, please, you know, and it's not like he's passionate about telling them. He's in a very you get Depp, like Sarah said, 9 toes. No episode encompasses that more than this one.
Right.
Where he is gone. He's got the scissor hands in the can. He's got the, you know, he doesn't want to be there anymore. And boy, does it jump off the screen.
9 toes and a hangnail out the door.
And it's season 4. And this guy, Josh Richmond, is so if you watch the Guns N' Roses video, Sarah's right, don't you cry. He's the director of this video.
Cool.
In preparation for this trial, what was your team's game plan?
Here's a great compliment, Sarah. From
You got to get me through this Chanley thing, please.
Nothing to do at work. I go back to random deppenings to get through it. Not even kidding. Thank you.
Oh,
Brendan.
I do too.
Great compliment. That's a
I'm
great
sorry.
compliment. Yeah, now you like it, Liz Cheney. You know. Thank you, G Canada as well.
Plan in taking on this case.
We figured if he could tell his story, and once and for all, after 6 years, he can deny these allegations outright, and he can tell the story and help give the jury a reason why she would make this up. We thought that there was really a very small chance he could lose.
The beautiful thing about this team is I think we very quickly, everyone is incredibly talented, but people have their strengths, right? And so I think we sort of recognize what those strengths were.
No one had ever, in 5 decades, no one had ever accused Johnny Depp of being abusive of any kind with a woman. That's why.
To be impartial here, to be unbiased, and I think Sarah will agree with me, Davyd, I don't know where you stand on this, but I thought Camille and Ben's opening statements were weak. I think they were reading off, they were fidgety, they weren't forceful,
I don't agree.
It was weak. No, it was weak. They didn't do it right, and they got better as it went on.
I think Ben's was fine. Camille had an audio issue, and they didn't have a podium set up for her, so she's wandering around with a piece of paper.
I'm not necessarily saying it's her fault, but the way they framed it, she's got her head buried in the script. And like you said, no, the audio was really weird and it didn't come off. The eye contact wasn't there. And obviously it got really strong as it went on. If you're going to do anything, get better as it go on, but don't make your first thing the best thing.
Yeah, I think Ben was fine. I won't agree to disagree on that.
I'm not saying they're not likable. I'm just saying it was the weaker of their performances throughout.
I'm flashing back to day one, me watching it. I think Ben was fine.
It was such a
I'm sorry, David, you're about to say?
No, just very quickly. I think also that I could see interpreting Camille as kind of mousy if I didn't know that she had within her to keep that series of like 49 objections to Elaine or her cross-examination of Amber or something. Like, to see that side of her, it's like, oh, I underestimated you. And I would probably misread her just based on that opening statement, not knowing that she was capable of really being a hard ass later on in the trial.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I talk about this all the time on television shows you watch. Or you get a first impression of someone, and you end up being way wrong about that first impression. Or as it goes on, oh God, I misjudged this. It's almost like she's giving off a scent of, oh, I'm just kind of this meek, mousy thing, and I'm not gonna. And then she got feistier as it was. It's almost like she lured them in to us underestimating her. That's a great point. I never heard anybody make that in all the analyzation of this trial.
Guilt. A false allegation can devastate a career, and it can devastate a family. And the evidence will show that Ms. Heard's false allegations had a significant impact on Mr. Depp's family and his ability to work in the profession he loved.
We started talking about who was going to do what probably a week before, as we were writing the opening statement. I remember as a team, we collectively told Ben that we thought the opening needed to be split, where he would introduce Johnny, and then the person that was going to go after Amber was going to be the person that was going to do that from the beginning. Right.
In this trial,
John O'Reilly says, by the way, you can see the overlooking. They're in the New York City Times Square offices doing this interview. John O'Reilly says the opening was a bit too complicated because Depp's team was trying to anticipate and nullify Amber's attack based on Depp's character flaws. That's well said, sir.
Ms. Heard will undoubtedly present photos that supposedly show
here's the audio
she
problem.
sustained as a result of the claimed abuse by Mr. Depp. Here's what you should keep in mind when you see these photographs. First, the evidence and expert testimony from a forensic pathologist, a doctor, will show that the injuries reflected in these photographs.
There's a common thing we all share, that Depp's face gets a little brighter from week to week. So this is him at his lowest. He is frowning. He's looking down. He's not sure where this is going. He's nervous. The magnitude of this, how internationally seen this trial is. This ain't the UK anymore. And I'm not sure he's aware of where this is all going to go. He might be negative, and he should be, because in the UK, was it 12 out of 14, Sarah, lost the cases?
Yeah.
So he doesn't know where it's going. It's a lot of the same people involved, and his face starts to rise as the weeks go on.
I wonder if the ponytail is like a MacGyver facelift in a weird way. Like it pulls the face back and like maybe makes him look more alert or more
It definitely did. It's definitely better than this. I couldn't believe he went. I was, you heard me. I was screaming.
Yeah.
I was screaming.
Well, you kind of knew when he was about to take the stand, because when the first day of the ponytail, it's like, okay, he's about to get up there.
Right.
He can't have that hair hanging in his face when he's going through a story.
Yeah.
So he has to appear like he's open to the world and he's being, completely truthful. It did. It changed. It was black and white.
Yeah.
John O'Reilly says he's very robotic here, and it changed. Yeah, it definitely is. Definitely is. It doesn't help with the bad acoustics and the way that microphone is. I was enraged at his hair. How many hours did I spend talking about the look he should have went with? And I was going with Nick of Time and just like the most clean cut, charismatic thing you could come up with. And this
is our first trial
is the
episode that was only like an hour, because we were doing a gunk pregame show, basically, was just us talking. All we had was a still image of them entering court for jury selection. That was just us screaming about his hair.
I'm emailing people about his hair, and
you did.
I did. I was emailing lawyers.
He emailed YouTube lawyers about Depp's hair.
Yeah, I said, how would you plan this? I go, and I gave him like a picture of each movie. I'm going with this, and I had it like categorized, and I said, this is what you should. And A Nick of Time was the #1 look I would go with.
It's like Howard yelling at Ralph for how he dressed him for the Bruce interview. You know?
It was more psychotic, I think, in my way. The way I wrote it out. Angrier too.
Right.
Are not consistent with the brutal allegations of abuse Ms. Heard has alleged. You will not see a single photograph of the vast majority of the abuse alleged by Ms. Heard. Not one. And there is not a single photograph or video showing Mr. Depp becoming physically violent towards Ms. Heard.
As a lawyer, you have to have a
Ben 4810, welcome, sir. Chanley Painter is also animatronic robot vibes. That's so true.
She's
And
one
is
of my
a-
least favorites.
That's so good. Fembot, animatronic robots. Arkansas native too, by the way. I looked up her biography.
She's such a replaceable journalist, you know. Like they'll get another sort of wayfish, you know, anchor for this show. She's super replaceable.
The only reason she's even a thing is she had that day where she wore a green dress and she was sitting behind Amber Heard. She had a green dress with a cutout over her boobs.
Oh,
She was there. She was in every day. You could see her prominently featured in that same. It was like 4 rows behind Amber Heard's side.
Yeah.
Where all the luminaries were.
critical eye towards the evidence. Because if you just believe your client blindly, you're doing a disservice because you have to anticipate that someone may not believe him or her, and so you have to be able to figure out a way to convince that person that your client's telling the truth.
And we will continue watching more of Chanley's interview, but we've got a special guest ourselves tonight. Joining us in Washington, D.C., trial attorney partner with Brown-RUDNICK and the lead attorney who represented Johnny Depp during his defamation case, Ben Chew, back with us. Ben, great to see you. Thanks for coming aboard tonight.
This was done, these interviews were all done like days before the appeal was settled. I think that gets alluded to here.
So this is like, God, 4 months before this aired? Because it aired just a couple weeks ago.
The appeal was settled. Remember that?
Yeah.
Just like a week ago. This aired like 2 days before the appeal was settled.
Oh, so they're anticipating the appeal.
Ben Chew knows at this point that they're going to settle. I think it's alluded to by this douche that he talks about possibly settling, I believe. I haven't seen this. But
Brendan wants to crybaby hair. Yeah, no, you haven't seen it.
okay, push play.
Just like you haven't seen Sleepy Hollow.
You're most welcome, Vinny. It's great to see you. Thanks for having me again.
So let's go here. Something that Camille said. We believed in Johnny. When did you first meet Johnny Depp, and what did you have any preconceived ideas about Johnny Depp before you got to know him?
I like that question, Vinny.
I was introduced to Johnny by a mutual friend, another attorney, and I really didn't have any preconceived.
And who's the other attorney, Sarah? Sarah, you muted? Adam Waldman.
Oh.
We found that out definitively in the Rolling Stone piece. Because they bring up, a lot of people don't know this, Ben Chew is actually mentioned in the Rolling Stone article. No one knew who he was then.
Oh, interesting.
And it shows Adam Waldman recruiting him. And so, I don't know, he doesn't bring his name up. Maybe it's too controversial to bring up, but it's Adam Waldman.
Okay.
Notions about Johnny other than that he was somewhat of a mysterious figure. He was a great actor, I knew that, but he really was very private. So until this, ironically, he really had been not reclusive, but he was someone who really valued his private life, and he kept his family life quiet.
And as you mentioned, until this, where everything spilled out into the courtroom. We've got a lot to get to this hour, so Ben Chew is going to...
Whereas I agree with Chew, Depp there's people who are far more private than he is. Depp would like to think he's mysterious and like to think he's very, very private. He tries to be, but I've heard him bring up his kids many a time in many an interview. And if he was that private, he wouldn't allow Lily Rose to be in the Screen Actors Guild with his last name.
Yeah.
So he tries, but he's not nearly as mysterious or as private as we'd lead you to believe that Ben Chu would lead you to believe that he is.
He wouldn't allow his daughter to sell $3,000 tennis shoes.
That those Chanel prices are
insane.
slapped. I can't believe you talk about why the terrorists hate us. I can't. You want to be in every girl 8,000 Chanel scarves. I couldn't believe the price. Who can afford that shit?
I wouldn't wear it out. It's not functional.
It's not even functional. Exactly. How do we feel about Camille's hair and clothes, guys?
In the Chanley interview?
Yeah, just in general, like during the trial, Chanley interview.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, she's a professional go-getter. I mean, I don't know.
No, that's exactly right. It was just a perfect professional, like not trying too hard, very Hillary Clinton pantsuit. I'm there to, absolutely. I think I am
unassuming too.
Unassuming, right? She's not trying too hard.
Stay with us as we continue to get an inside look at Johnny Depp's legal team. Also, folks, coming up next hour.
Why hasn't any useful...
Ben, how daunting was it to prepare for this case? The amount of detail, the amount of years, and all of this, the evidence and the witnesses.
Vinny, we filed the case on March 1, 2019.
Wow.
And normally, under Virginia state procedure, in Fairfax anyway, you generally get a trial within 1 year of filing the complaint. But of course, everybody was hit with COVID, including Fairfax County, and that entailed at least 2 continuances of the trial date. So what would have been a frenzied preparation of discovery while fighting off 4 or 5 separate sets of dispositive motions would have been condensed into that period. But as it happened, it ended up, we tried the case about 3 years later. The practical effect of that was there were a lot more depositions. I think Ms. Heard noticed about 80 depositions. She had some funding from insurance companies that provided a war chest that we really didn't have, but we responded as we needed to.
A war chest. A war chest.
I don't know that phrase.
It was. I don't either. I guess it's a legalese slang. Maybe a war chest. Maybe it's like a hidden money fund funding your legal team. You talk about the insurance paying for Amber Heard's horrible legal team, and I say horrible not in any kind of biased way. I think the one thing I can't even get my head around is how little they worked as a team. It's like they didn't even collaborate. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Shut that glass door, Chewy, says Ben 4810.
In the background.
You're setting off my ADHD. Very dispositive too, as he said. Very dispositive.
You're very.
Close
that war chest. You're setting off my ADHD.
Very arpeggiated dispositive war chest.
And as you prepare for this case, at what point do you start seeing and hearing the evidence, whether it's witnesses, depositions? Are you feeling any sense of confidence?
We always had confidence in Johnny. As Camille referred to in her interview with Chanley, we had represented Johnny on a couple of other cases.
John O'Reilly says war chest equals abundant resources. Thank you, sir. Okay, that's something, again, in addition to arpeggiate, war chest. I want people to really log that away and use that in your real lives and your vocabulary.
And gotten to know him very well. And we had first heard the story of his relationship with Amber Heard before we even contemplated the lawsuit. So we were comfortable with Johnny and that he was telling the truth. But the witnesses, you have to see as they come up. And more witnesses came forward, people who really were disinterested. They had no reason to support Johnny but they came forward and they told very credible stories that supported Johnny's narrative. Their life played out in public, so a lot of people saw what was going on.
Unbelievable. I mean, I don't know if we'll ever see another trial quite like this one.
This is where Depp's charisma is so paramount to getting people to do this for him. Davyd talked about reading Danny Depp's books, how everyone's so unlikable.
Yeah.
Only his brother could make these characters likable. Like, as shitty as that looks on the page, Depp has a way of making people you're not supposed to like very charismatic, and that's a
Right.
skill you can't teach in any acting class.
Also, I love the stupid filler commentary of we'll never see a trial like this in our lifetime. And it's like, we had OJ and we had, it's like, of course you will. Of course you'll see another trial.
Well, it's however they want you to, how they want to cover it. You could turn anything
Right.
into a circus.
Yeah,
It
you could
depends on
totally.
if you put enough cameras in and you give it enough attention. I'm amazed at the news cycle. Some of the stuff that, I mean, there's bigger murders than OJ. Every 3 days, people get killed. It's 2 people died, just 2 people. Every day, there's a news story in your area where more than 2 people die, and they chose to make that what it was. Buffalo
also,
Bills running back.
In our lifetime, there will be another trial with famous celebrities, that drags on for, I'm sure of it, that it's not as infrequent as
There's already people looking at this trial as the template of, I'm going to do this too.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. Believe me, you're absolutely right. They are coming, and they looked at this as the template for how to, fight a defamation case, or there's so many lessons to be learned and how to do that. And that, I mean, I think the Brown-Rudnick team had way more to gain from it than Depp did. I think that's a way better endorsement for them. He's going to be stricken with this. He's going to do it anyway. They have way more to gain than he did.
Right. I think there was more was on the line for, well, I don't know about that. I was going to say more was on the line for Brown-Rudnick than
It
for
is.
Depp.
You're right. It is. If they lost, they look horrible in the eyes of, how much real estate this got.
And they're not at the end of their careers, so it just would have, they had to win. Yeah.
Yep.
There's no option.
The loser OJ trial lawyers that you all know, you think of them as losers.
Right. Right.
Benchu with us the whole hour. Chanley Painter sat down with other members of the team, Camille Vasquez, Jessica Meyers, Samuel Moniz. Let's take a look at more of her interview as she gets into some more of the details of some of these witnesses.
Okay, let's talk about the testimony. First, Depp's side. You guys, other than your client, which witnesses were the most important for your case?
I think all of them played such a key role.
Welcome, Judy, to
There were
Nuna.
so many people that wanted to testify in this case. They felt compelled.
Which witnesses were the most important for your case?
I think all of them played such a key role.
You see the woman on the top right?
Yeah.
That was Amber Heard's assistant.
Right, the British woman.
Yes.
Kate
And
James.
Kate James. She has a very underrated testimony because it was very early in the trial. I think it was like day 2 or something. She's coming over Zoom, so it's not as effective as it should be.
Yeah.
But if you transcripted that out, there's a lot of salacious shit in there. And her tone is, she's so pissed at working for her. She had a kid and she wouldn't capitulate to having a kid, and it was just irrational. It's a really good testimony to go revisit if you get a chance.
Okay.
She spit in her face.
Yeah, I think she did.
That's right.
Yes, she did.
Yes, she
I
did.
remember that. Yeah.
There were so many people that wanted to testify in this case. They felt compelled to tell the truth. And so, we started with Christy Dombrowski, Johnny's sister. And we did that again on purpose because jury trials are your opportunity to tell a story, a persuasive one, but a story nonetheless. And so we started from the beginning, which was Johnny's sister. Who is Johnny Depp? Who was Johnny Depp before he became the person that we all know as Johnny Depp?
How, if at all?
Judy Tanuna asks, Amber lost her career. Very stupid what she did. You know what? Here's what happened there. Aquaman 1 comes out, right? And it is a massive hit. It is the #1 film in DC Warner Brothers, monetarily, even critic-wise. Even it embraced its comic book mythos, and it did what it wanted to do. It's the #1 moneymaker, and she's got a huge gassed-up head because she's the lead actress in this movie. Aquaman made more money, I swear to you, than any Depp film. So
Really?
she thinks it's because of her.
Oh.
Right? So this gassed up her head and saying, I can do whatever the hell I want. I'm going to write an op-ed piece for the Washington Post, and I'm going to play, Mira in real life, and I'm going to do this girl power shit, and I'm going to really, really lay it on, and I'm going to take him down, and I'm going to trample, and I'm going to pass him by, because my Aquaman movie, as if she's the reason it did. She, in her mind
Right.
it is. We all know it's Momoa, and it was a phenomenal cinematronics and cinematography and everything else. And that's why she wrote it, Judy.
Yeah.
Because she got gassed up by the box office take of Aquaman 1.
Did you ever see the old movie All About Eve from the 50s with Bette Davis?
No, but you have, Mr. 33-year-old.
Exactly. So the premise is about this nobody woman who goes to see this actress on Broadway like every night for this performance, and she seems unassuming and has followed this actress her whole career, and then buddies up to the people nearest the actress, like the playwright's wife and all this stuff, and gets a meeting with her and becomes the actress's like live-in assistant, and then begins to usurp her by rigging it so that she gets to be the understudy in her show, and it's, you should watch. It's a really, really, really
I'll
good
check
movie.
it out. Totally.
It won Best Picture in 1950. But it reminds me of exactly the tactics Amber used to ingratiate herself to Depp. And then in order to get a big blockbuster movie that, as you say, it gassed her up, and she thinks that like, I can burn the ladder that is my husband. I don't need him anymore, So.
Yeah, and then play the girl power angle, and she's like this ambiguous lesbian, and I don't know, she's changing sexuality every 3 days, and Cowlie ass, her salary is only $2 million. Yeah, I know her salary wasn't, but that was a mystery all along. It was never about her salary. We didn't know what it was, and I knew it was lowball, but it wasn't. She thought after that Aquaman hit, she was going to be elevated to a 8-figure broad. That's what she thought.
The op-ed came out. The op-ed came out before Aquaman did.
How, in terms of how many months?
It was the same month, but it came out before.
Well,
She wanted the
nevertheless,
publicity,
it
but she
was,
didn't. She wasn't
they
basing
knew
it
was
off of
gonna
the
be
box
huge.
office.
They knew it was going to be huge. She knew, just because she was the leading lady in that. They knew where it was. When they tracked the movie, they knew it was going to be huge. Before the box office results were even released, they knew where this was going. She got a gassed up head just as she got cast in Justice League before it.
Yeah.
So it didn't take much.
Yeah.
Did Johnny react when his mother would hit him?
He was a typical little boy where if it hurt, he would cry. That was it. I mean, for the most part, you just wanted to get away from it.
It was about giving a why to certain members of that jury. Why would this person make up these allegations? And I think by Christy sharing a little bit about their childhood and Johnny's reaction to the abuse that they both sustained, started to paint a picture of who this person was many years later when he met Miss Heard and they had conflict.
Tell me about your role that you played during the trial.
I was involved in a lot of the trial preparation, so drafting the motions in limine, arguing a lot of those. I took on several trial witnesses, including Gina Duders.
That was sort of a moment in the trial that really blew up on social media, especially. She starts her testimony, she's about 15 minutes in, and then there's this sidebar out of nowhere.
You've been watching, so you have seen parts of this trial?
Yeah.
Okay, and witness testimonies?
Yeah, I've seen clips of...
You've seen everything.
Yeah.
All right, does anybody have any follow-up questions?
Ms. Deuters, have you been watching?
It doesn't matter. She's been watching clips of witness testimony. All right, you're excused, ma'am. You can have your excuse.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I was conducting Gina's direct examination, and somebody in the gallery, a member of Ms. Heard's party in the gallery, passed up to one of her attorneys a phone with screenshots of what appeared to be Gina Deuters posting on social media about the trial. What actually happened, ultimately it turned out, was that Gina had seen a couple of clips, a couple of isolated clips, just because people had been sending her clips on social media. But she hadn't been seeking it out, and she hadn't actually been watching any significant amount of it. And the apparent social media posts had actually been from the year prior.
Dr. Shannon Curry. She was almost a crowd favorite. You could tell she connected with this jury. How important was Dr. Curry's findings and conclusions to your case?
As a result of the work that you performed, did you form any opinions with respect to Ms. Heard?
I did.
What were those opinions?
The results of Ms. Heard's evaluation supported 2 diagnoses, borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder.
Having a psychologist say, this is what IPV looks like, this is what PTSD looks like, this is what it doesn't look like, was going to be persuasive.
There was one witness.
Camille is who found our superstar Shannon Curry, who is the Heather Lock. She's like, if you ever watched Melrose Place, her delivery, she's got that perfect, articulate West Coast kind of. I don't even know if you could attach. Just a perfect accent where, and then as she brought up histrionic personality disorder and borderline personality disorder, all those diagnoses were spot on. Everyone's, God, that's her, that's her, that's her. We did all the dynamic speech and every bullet point that came out of a holster with her. She almost had her shit together too much that it blew people away. Like, she can't be this prepared. She can't be this spot on.
Well, and I remember she was not afraid to give pushback to the cross-examination too. Like, she got kind of aggressive with the other side.
Oh, she was great. She was like, bring it on. And she kept a smile on her face when she did it. She never looked like she was disturbed or rattled in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
Like, okay. Well, this is what, and it's like, to the point where they regretted even pushing back on her.
Yeah, right.
I mean, could they have chosen a better psychologist to analyze it, forensic psychologist to analyze it? It's crazy.
And I was kind of annoyed by her at the beginning because, I understood later on, like, because she just kept listing her credentials, and now I understand why they did that to establish her credibility. But it was a rube in the ways of how.
No, we all were, because she seemed like a type A know-it-all,
right?
Where you're going, oh, this can't be real. She's just too perfect. This is just too much. And she was that perfect. She just was that good.
Yeah,
she was that.
She came
smart.
to play. Yeah, no,
she came to play, exactly. Ben says, Camille has nothing to say about the behavioral removal from Eve Barlow. Come on, Fembot, ask about Eve. She might be coming up, Ben. I don't know. We got to get through this. I think it has to come up.
Yeah.
There's no way you could bring up the removal of Gina Deuters and not bring up Eve Barlow.
I think they would have. That was his opportunity to say her name. He just said somebody from her party. I don't think she's going to be mentioned. She wants to be mentioned.
That you guys put forth early on, the marriage counselor.
With Ms. Heard, he was triggered, and they engaged in what I saw as mutual abuse.
That was her opinion.
Yeah, their couples psychologist, her therapist,
is
also an underrated interview, and she actually isn't. She blames Depp. She says it's a mutual abuse, and the way I saw it is, this is a horrible couple. This never should have happened.
Right.
He's coming at him, and she's doing this, and she saw it as mutual abuse. It was kind of glossed over.
Yeah.
But it's a good one to revisit if you get a chance.
That doesn't mean that she was saying that there was mutual physical violence on both sides. Again, no witness came forward and said, I saw Johnny Depp physically abuse Ms. Heard with my own eyes.
Any trial, you're going to have some testimony that you love and some testimony that you hate. And there's never going to be a trial when you don't end at least one day of it going, oh no, that was bad. And that was the case here. And I think we put on enough evidence showing that Johnny Depp has a lot of good qualities, is fundamentally decent, is fundamentally nonviolent.
Rooster Fontaine and Judy Tenuta. Aquaman 2 is done. It's coming out, I think, in the first trimester of 20. Jesus, I think it's actually. They try to avoid Avatar 2 because Avatar 2 basically ripped off the premise of Aquaman. So you can't have two huge water movies come out. So they avoided it, which is kind of smart. It's in the can. They're not. Yeah, he's in it. Momoa's in it. They're just not making a third one. It would appear. Because James Gunn took over and they're facelifting the whole thing. But make no mistake, if you're going to stick with anything, Aquaman is the one to keep going with because it is by far the most successful one.
Yeah.
That ultimately that comment, I don't think, made much difference.
All right, when we come back, we're going to take a look at Johnny Depp's testimony through the eyes of his legal team. Ben Chu is with us, and of course, Chanley sat down with the rest of the team. We'll be right back.
Disturbing criminal, Ms. Heard made some quite heinous and disturbing. Brought these disturbing criminal.
I remember when he first took the stand, we all do. I kind of just I wanted to jump out of my skin. I couldn't believe it was finally here and what we were looking at. I couldn't, we've been conjecturing this leading all the way up to it. And we knew it was, when he finally took the stand, I was like, I can't believe I'm looking. It seemed, I hate to overuse the word surreal, but it did seem surreal. I can't believe I'm looking at this.
Right. The other thing too, is that, it just shows you what a better actor he is than Amber. And not that he's lying, but that he knows how to communicate effectively to an audience to trigger certain subconscious emotional responses that work in his favor through the art of acting,
Yeah, he's always had a subtlety and a subtle, he knows how to emote his charisma. And I don't know how conscious that is, or if it's just a natural thing. But, he has that it factor, and that's kind of what got him casted, getting out of a fucking van from Miramar, Florida, and getting the lead role in the best horror movie of all time, the male lead or boyfriend of Heather Langenkamp. Right out of it, it's just immediately you're getting this, and it's just something you can't teach.
Right, and even the way he conducts himself on talk shows and stuff is, I think, a little bit manipulative. He wants to be liked in a specific way for being either you perceive him as standoffish, but like a self-aware standoffish. And I think he knows the vocal intonation and, when to push his hair back in order to do that,
Yeah.
I don't say it's a bad thing.
There's certain writers that have described him as in publication when they do an article on him and say, how they do a thing, they do the interview, it's a Q&A, and then they'll do a summary before the interview where they say their experience in observing him and what their opinion was, and they kind of do a quick editorial for 3 paragraphs, and they'll say what makes him so endearing, it's like he's struggling to find the words between each answer. So the pauses, and he's fighting to think of the perfect sentence. And that's endearing to people looking at that because it shows a flaw that he's not confident. And I mean, oh, I love a guy with confidence. Broads all use the same cliche.
Yeah.
His lack of confidence is endearing because this is an A-list star who is still reticent in interviews and can't make eye contact.
I remember a point in the trial where I forget who asked him directly, have you ever abused a woman? And he just looked so sad and said, no, never. And it sort of I don't know, it affected me. I sort of, I think that he's telling the truth, but I think the extra layer of, using the acting ability to help convey the truth was definitely a strategy.
Yeah, there's no doubt in the war room, they concocted that without a doubt. And we heard that, Josh Richmond said he was doing a Christopher Walken kind of thing. So he had these deliberate pauses, and John O'Reilly
Yeah.
acknowledged it before that he was chewing up, no pun intended,
Yeah.
their court time, their allotted court time. And I didn't even realize that was an issue. That was something, that was a thing
There
in
were
a
time
trial where you
limits.
had an allotted amount of hours. I had no idea that was even a thing.
Yeah.
That's how much you learn from this stuff. Yeah, the Asian producer, Judy Tenuta, was a guy named Walter Hamada. He was fired and replaced by James Gunn because there's just one failure after the next. I don't know if it's necessarily his fault, but God, it was just one disaster from Birds of Prey to Wonder Woman 1984, which still haunts me as the shittiest thing, the most disappointing superhero movie I think I've from Marvel and DC. I expected so much from that. I couldn't believe how bad that was. Birds of Prey was a shit show too. That was just as bad. I'm a huge Black Canary fan, and did they butcher her.
Acts
I think Amber's hated more than Brie Larson, Judy.
against me that were not based in any species of truth, but never did I myself reach the point of striking Miss Heard in any way, nor have I ever struck any woman.
Johnny Depp.
Except Anne Heche and Donnie Brasco.
Right.
Species of Truth is the prose what she gets from Thompson and the Lord Byron
Right.
speak that Kevin Smith
Yeah.
speaks of when they're texting each other.
Me does think thou protest too much.
Species of Truth. If he just said truth, it wouldn't have worked with the jury. I think Species of Truth
Yes.
took 2 jurors to vote for him in the end.
Yeah, right. The Beth Stern English majors in the jury.
His age, no, Ben 4810. There's no way she got backhand points for Aquaman. There's just no way. And as you found, I don't know if you saw this, but Depp admitted that he got her the role. He had his connections at Warner Brothers and through
Yeah.
Burton and through Fantastic Beasts. He had a lot of connections. And he's been around so long. He has connections everywhere. And that's
At
how he had
every
moles
studio,
on
I'm
movies.
sure.
Yeah. Reporting to him, James Franco cheating and Billy Bob Thornton. He's got so many friends that you just can't. He'll know everything.
Depp on the stand. Tonight we're taking an in-depth look at Johnny Depp's legal team. Ben Chu is with us this hour, but Chanley Painter also sat down with the rest of the team, including Camille Vasquez. Here they are talking about Johnny Depp on the stand.
John O'Reilly says Shannon Curry is a very big standalone treatment center in LA. I didn't know that.
Oh, interesting.
She's in.
I'll include that on my next Depp tour.
Yes, thank you, Davyd. Please do so.
Will
If
do.
we get a chance,
Yeah.
swing by there, and she's in Hawaii and LA. It's a rough life. She looks like it too.
Totally.
She embodies both states.
It's been 6 years of trying times. It's very
Muffins, yeah.
strange when one day you're
Quasimodo.
Cinderella, so to speak, and then in 0.6 seconds you're Quasimodo.
Let's talk about your client. He spent 4 days on the stand early on in your case in chief, too, telling his story. How do you think it went overall?
I think it went really, really well. I was so proud of him. I really was. He was unapologetically himself.
So I was always a very private person. So for me to come up here and stand before you, or sit before you all, and spill the
Sometimes I think of the age difference here, and if you put it in perspective, I know things evolve and whatever. Davyd, you're in your early 30s. It'd be like you going to war with someone 10 years old.
Right.
Isn't that crazy to think of, like the generation gap here? It's
Yeah.
kind of weird. Just imagine yourself going against someone 25 years younger than you in a court setting. It'd be really strange.
Right. Like, whenever we're doing a 21 Jump Street commentary, Amber is 3 or something.
It's 3.
you know?
Yes, yes, yes. I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
And I had this theory that she and her grifter Coachella con artist, when he would go and shoot a movie for 3 months at a time, would actually binge watch Jump Street and Penthouse, whatever,
Right.
1 or 5 or 3, and goof on it.
Yeah.
As you heard in the audio when she says,
Right. She's making fun of
21
21
gives
Jump
a
Street.
shit street. Yeah.
Yeah.
Truth is quite exposing. And it's unfortunate that it's not only exposing for myself, it's exposing for my family, it's exposing for Miss Heard, it's exposing for, it never had to go in this direction. And so I can't say that I'm embarrassed because I know that I'm doing the right thing.
We knew
There's a lot of issues with the eye contact.
Yeah.
So you'll find out soon enough. I'm not sure when they say, yeah, he's told to not look at her, and it's a strategy they have, and he really holds to it. One of the Sarah, you saying?
I didn't say
it's
anything.
David's. Go ahead, David.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I know you guys have said this many times, but I think it bears repeating. If you're in the same room as your abuser, the fact that she can just look at him calmly as he speaks and not have, this trauma response to even being in the same room with him is very telling,
Yes. No question. And I don't know if you caught the one little moment. It's subtle. It's when they're walking out for lunch. He's going out to have a brown cigarette buffet
Yeah.
with his team. He walks at her. She's coming off the stand, and they actually get within 3 feet of each other. And the bailiffs and his security get between them. And she just sort of does this thing where she acts. It's horrible. I mean, you thought the acting in Bring It On, not Bring It On. What's the movie, Sarah? The Karate Kid knockoff movie.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh, God damn it. I forget the name of it. She just does this horrible sway and this fake trauma, and she runs across whereas karate is. And he's like, oh, I'll go this way. And he's very, very cavalier about it. But the bailiff jumps in between him, and that's as close. That's the only time she ever looks rattled. But it's so fake. It's because, oh, she's coming at me, and I got to look like I'm scared of him now.
Right. Meanwhile, she choreographed like some opportunity to get within proximity of him.
Oh, it looks so deliberate. Yeah, it looked
Yeah.
like right. It was choreographed.
fairly early on that Camille would be handling Amber's cross-examination, and so I think we thought it was important to not have the same woman going after Amber handling Johnny's direct examination. So I think the idea was that it would be best for women to handle both of those witnesses, but they couldn't be the same one. And so as the second most senior woman on the trial team at the time, that came to me, and I was obviously, again, more than happy to say yes to that.
Mr. Depp, how did you feel about your father when he left?
Take the chat
When
off.
it came to the
John O'Reilly says, yeah, so they have to brag. We talked about Shannon Curry before. It seems like they're bragging or being boastful, but you have to lay out your credentials forcefully or you're not going to be taken seriously. You have to.
Yeah.
Just I was going to say.
A day I wanted to be as, background as possible. I wore beige, I had my hair back. I just wanted to be a voice in the background and have him be the focal point.
So how did you prepare him?
From my perspective, it was really just important that he be able to tell his story in the most uninterrupted.
That's a great still shot right there. That'd be a great avatar. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's great form he has too on that right hook.
Yeah.
Cowley says, Josh Richardson said it felt weird for him to even see Depp on the set. I know exactly what the audio you're talking about, Cowley. Yeah, so you think it's weird for me. Imagine friends intimate with him, seeing him on the stand. It just honestly, it sounds melodramatic. Like my heart skipped a beat. I felt like I was going to jump out of my skin. I couldn't believe what I was looking at when he first.
Yeah.
There was remember that, Sarah? There's like a little pause. He's just about to take the mic, and you're going, "Am I really watching this?"
Mm-hmm.
On his first day, I couldn't. I just was like, jumped out of my skin. And it was like the last afternoon of God. Was it day 4 or 5, something like that?
I think it's weird seeing him with like Judge, you know, who knew of this judge before this trial and stuff. It's not like these people are famous. So it's like seeing someone you know out of context and you don't think it's them at first, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's a great way to frame that. That's probably is what it felt like.
Yeah.
Way. And so, and because up until this point, it really had been Amber's story that was out in the world. And so we wanted him to be able to tell, you know, the world who he was and tell his side of this relationship that really.
Now look at his hair on the left. That is the Stan look. That's what you put him on the Stan with.
Yeah.
That's, God damn it. That's just exactly what I would have done if I were.
Had been one-sided in the public.
What people finally got to see was the real Johnny Depp. Funny, you know, a little bit annoyed at times, frustrated, I would say, with the process, the objections that, you know, but just real.
I believe the 18th
in 2 years
quite
before.
Possibly, sorry, was quite possibly, maybe that was the online version that came out first.
2 years before
there's a
either the
very
online or the
different-
print.
I'm sorry, I was just
No,
gonna
I think
finish
you
my
answered
answer.
my question, sir. Thank you.
Oh. Do you have a drinking problem, Johnny?
Objection calls for hearsay. What the doctors told him.
I'm not sure he's saying what the doctors told him.
I think that's what's about to be testified to.
If you can make that clear.
Depp does subtle sarcasm almost better than anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Even if it's just from the face, his subtle sarcasm is as good as it gets, and that's something you can't teach.
And that's why Jack Sparrow is such a successful character, I think. You know, I mean, would you say that Orlando Bloom was supposed to be the sort of love interest of pirates? And
That's so great you say that. When Judy Tanuna's in the chat, I had made this analogy in a DM we had. If you look at the dynamic in Pirates, it's basically Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Depp is Han Solo, is Jack Sparrow, Luke Skywalker is Will Turner, and Keira Knightley is Princess Leia.
Right.
And it's all
That's
the same. It's Disney made. It's completely the same parallels. Han Solo clearly stole the movie in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And he's a space pirate.
Right.
Black Pearl is the Millennium Falcon.
Totally. Yeah. But
I don't know why I'm the
almost
first
like
one to say this, but I'm taking full credit for it.
they set Orlando Bloom is fresh off of Lord of the Rings success, but it seems like he was, you know, like it's almost like Jack Sparrow is supposed to be the comic relief, but he's more popular as a character. Which
is what Harrison Ford did with Han Solo.
Exactly.
And it wasn't supposed to be that way. You know, Mark Hamill's kind of a bland lead, likable. Don't get me wrong. You're certainly rooting for him every step of the way, and probably more charismatic than Orlando Bloom is, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Mark Hamill is very likable, and but that's exactly the dynamic. And I can't believe you said it. I do think it was positioned to be. They didn't know what was going to happen. I think, Orlando Bloom's coming off Lord of the Rings. We're going to try to make him a superstar. Depp comes at them, and he threw the Keith Richards, Pepe Le Pew thing at them.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what happens. All right. If it doesn't work, we'll just make it an Orlando Bloom. You're absolutely right. They may have wanted it to be an Orlando Bloom vehicle in the beginning.
Right. And Orlando Bloom seems humorless to me. Like that's why he's more talented than Mark Hamill, who has a great sense of humor. You know,
he really does. Yeah.
Hilarious in interviews.
People don't know. Right. He's a great impressionist,
Yeah.
far more talented than the humanoids realize. He's obviously the voice of the jury. He does tremendous voiceovers and
wonderful voiceover.
Comedic chops. Right. Exactly right. G. Canada goes, listen to the stunned cadence. Talking about gobbling a handful of Quaaludes for breakfast. Yeah, G. Canada, that's going to be one of the Depp categories. Favorite illegal drug. And Quaaludes is going to be in the mix with MDMA and all this. I can't wait for that.
My favorite thing you guys ever did on the Deppening was the audio of Johnny Depp reading those riddles. I did.
From the Never Fear Truth.
Maybe, but it was just the trailed off delivery of like, what am I? You know?
Yes, that was the Never Fear Truth. When he was
that made me
doing,
laugh so
it was
much.
bizarre. chapter in his life. That NFT shit.
What am I?
I'm not a Ben 4810. I'm not a G Canada. I have been known to cackle like Rooster Fontaine.
I'm black and white and red all over. What am I?
I have seen John O'Reilly at McSorley's in the West Village. What am I?
But his "what am I's" were so grovelly and the words elided together. It was just the funniest thing. God.
But also a Luddite like him having to deal with like full-blown internet activity like that, which was crazy. I think it was done in a Discord group.
Oh,
yeah, he had to venture onto Discord.
That's right.
Him on
Poor guy.
Discord is the craziest.
I don't even go to Discord.
That's a.
Yeah, some of the biggest internet nerds you know don't even go on Discord.
Yeah, no, it's a. It seems.
It's almost dark webby, but not quite. Discord.
Right.
You can find some good stuff on there if like that's under the table.
I guess. Let me ask you a different question, Mr. Depp.
Yes. Let's let him object to another one.
I think we developed a very good rapport. I think I find him very funny. I think he has an incredible sense of humor about incredibly painful things, right? And I appreciated his ability.
Yeah, to ask John O'Reilly's question, Betson Howard's age is 18 years, and Depp and Amber Heard are 23, 24 years. So it's a bigger gap and only getting wider.
Let it play.
And willingness to
sort
of bare his soul in front of everyone. I've
Sariana
always
Huffington
had an appreciation for sort
We're
of
3 hours in.
psychology and how that impacts our work as lawyers. And so with Johnny, I think that appreciation really helped him feel, I hope, comfortable to tell his story.
What have you lost as a result of Ms. Heard making these allegations against you?
Nothing less than everything. Because when the allegations were made, when the allegations were rapidly circling the globe, telling people that I was a drunken, cocaine-fueled menace who beat women suddenly in my 50s. It's over. You're done.
He's not everyone's cup of tea. He uses bad language. He's, struggled with sobriety his whole life. But he didn't do this. I didn't believe that a man in his 50s wakes up one day and starts to abuse their partner.
I think he was genuine. I think people know he's an actor and they expected to sort of see him up there acting a bit. And he wasn't. I mean, he was talking about his really painful memories from his childhood. He was talking about these really painful experiences he had had in his relationship with Ms. Heard and in the aftermath after she had made allegations against him. And I think he wasn't afraid to really get into how he felt, how it affected him. And at the same time, he took ownership for his role, right? And I think that was compelling to people.
G. Canada goes nothing less than everything. I don't even have a clue on R.S. Thompson is. I'm sure that's one of his lines. Could be G. Canada. If we go back and look at Thompson, he could have borrowed that from Hunter. That wouldn't surprise me. But I've said this a million times. If I'm Amber's team, I go, really, Mr. Depp, nothing less than everything. We have droves. We have hundreds and thousands of people waiting for you with alpacas and Jack Sparrow impersonators cheering you on from the minute you leave here to the minute you go. That's nothing. You have a tour booked with Jeff Beck in Europe with 40 dates sold out. That's nothing less than everything. I see you as losing nothing. You got paid $15 million for Fantastic Beasts. That's nothing to people. You have this movie book. That's
Right.
how I would have framed it. That's to us, nothing less than everything. You know,
Yeah.
that's the opposite of nothing less than everything. The public opinion was on his side already, even after the UK verdict.
Right.
Her team was so stupid they couldn't throw that in his face. I'd be like, take a look outside. Thousands of people camping overnight, coming here from everywhere, internationally, waiting for you to leave, giving you their spirit guide as you go back to this 5-star hotel. That's nothing less than everything. I mean, you can't shoot that down.
Yeah. No, it's very true.
But the way he's so charming, you don't even think about it. You don't even question it.
Unforgettable. Ben Chu still with us, the leader of Johnny Depp's legal team. Ben?
That's right.
And we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but the fact that this trial was about what it was about, which was his entire life. How do you have that conversation? Or did he know by bringing a defamation case like this that the world was going to know everything?
Yeah, we had a long conversation with him, before any defamation case.
You remember when they read off the metrics online of the support he had?
Like his Q rating or something?
Yes, versus the lack of support she had,
right,
or lack thereof. That's making the argument for her team that he's not canceled.
Right.
They could have thrown their own statistics in his face and said, "This is nothing. Look at the support he. That's not canceled."
It just shows the narcissism that starts at the top, which is Amber, where it's like she doesn't want to acknowledge that he's more popular than she is.
Right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Even if it means that she might get some favor in the trial. I mean, it's the same as like hiring the sort of very not charismatic legal team that she had. She doesn't want to be upstaged by her legal team.
That's a great point. I know. I always thought too, like, oh, you just don't have any. Your judgment of character and your optics is so horrible. You chose these people, even though like it had a lot to do with the insurance choosing it for her and who was available. Still, I think she had other choices. I don't think she had to use them.
Yeah, this felt like the $200 a month health insurance that I pay for. Where it's like
these are your doctors. You have to use them. You can't shop them around. Yeah.
But can't get treated out of state, It's
in her mind, you're right. She thought she was going to be more effective than Rottenborn or Bredehoft. Her testimony was going to destroy their nothing compared to what she can do on her own.
Right, and this is the most media coverage that she's ever going to have in her life, and so why not treat it like a big audition?
There's no question. And she thought, how many producers and directors are going to be looking at this? And this is her. There's no bigger stage than this. Even Aquaman.
Because if she had a Camille of her own, she would feel competitive with her. It's that would take over, and it's not about if she did have a Camille type, she might have curried more favor. But
no pun intended.
Right. But I think that, she just did not want to compete with anyone for the airtime.
Absolutely. Well said, sir. If this ever retries for a best of 3, you would think Amber would learn and her people would learn from that. It's like, oh, okay, it's about optics.
Right.
Let's go the opposite of Rottenborn and Bredehoft. Let's try to get our own Vasquez and Chu.
You have to do a lot of due diligence into the truth, because obviously, as you well know, the truth is always a defense in any defamation case. And we were confident that he was telling the truth, but then you get into some ancillary issues, which is, all right, we're satisfied that these allegations were false, but there are other things that may come in, the alleged substance abuse, that kind of thing. He's a very thoughtful person, and he weighed all of that. And as I think you just heard in the snippet, he wasn't embarrassed, because ultimately he knew he was doing the right thing. And I really think that he was doing it for his family. I mean, his family knew that he didn't do this, but I think he felt that they should not go through life with the stigma of other people thinking that.
Again, if I heard the family thing, if I'm Amber Heard's people, I go team, I go, your family, really, like you're the daughter you have who was just cast in an HBO series called Idol on the new HBO Max. They're not going to put their
Right.
asses on the line and cast your last name is her last name. She's using your last name to get famous, to get acting roles. She's the face of Chanel. She's this. She's in a Natalie Portman movie. I'm like, really, really. So this is for your family. The daughter, you know, that you could throw that in his face over and they never did.
And
sorry, Debbie, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, you always talk about like Amber as a woman scorned, and with
hell hath no fury, right?
Right. And there is almost, because of this evidence that Depp is not canceled, that the going to trial was there is hell hath no fury, like a Johnny Depp scorned, where it's like, you know, the money doesn't mean anything. It's just like, I want to punish you for what you did to me, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely what it's meant. And he's only canceled if you let him be canceled. I'm talking about you as an individual fan of his. If you allow him to be canceled, he's canceled. If you don't go to see Minamata and City of Lies, then he's canceled. And a lot of you didn't see it. So he's only canceled if you allow him to be. You don't listen to fucking Warner Brothers and Disney tell you what to do.
my brother Peter came up with a great line that we used in my part of the closing, which was
Peter
that this was
Peter Chu
the
and
only
Depp.
Me Too case without any other Me Too's. In other words, you think of all the others, and there's several who come forward after the first allegation is made.
That's not necessarily true. They just failed miserably in doing so. So he's saying, how come there's no other women? They did. Ellen Barkin came forward, and there was other people, and they were able to trample it in their evidence. They weren't allowed to submit certain stuff. It just wasn't done effectively. It was butchered and botched beyond belief.
Yeah.
Mr. Depp has been with many women in his life, some of whom he's disappointed, and not one of them, not one, came forward after she first made the allegation on May 27, 2006.
There's also Winona Ryder allegation. I don't know if you saw this.
I remember that.
Yeah, she said my first boyfriend was explosively violent, throwing stuff. So not that it really proved he hit her, but it was enough to be, traumatic. And she was 17, which doesn't help either.
You mean Christian Slater, her first boyfriend?
Yeah, right.
I love if Ben Chu became Dan the Song Parody Man for a minute and said Depp is a poon hound, and
there's no good way to say that, because he's been with a lot of women, and I mean a lot of women.
He's an attentive gentleman. Yeah,
he's such a straight-laced guy, like clean cut, like he just doesn't know how to.
Yeah, that surprised me.
16, and I think that was very important, and I think it was something that we stressed, and that was not a claim Ms. Heard could make. That was not a claim Ms. Heard could make, because she had a record of violence against a partner, or at least alleged violence, and that's not something that Johnny had.
That really is so significant. Is your brother a lawyer?
He's not. He is a comedian and an artist, and very talented. But
he's a
great wordsmith.
Please, can we find a
I
set?
borrowed that line from him.
Absolutely, and it's so true. Such a big part.
Next show, guys, we're going to go over Ben Chu's brother's comedy.
Oh, please.
Next show. I can't wait.
I will give anything to sit on that.
You got it. You're in.
Oh, my God.
You are in.
Part of the case. Ben Chu staying with us. We're going to have more of our in-depth look at Johnny Depp's legal team. Part 1 tonight, Part 2 tomorrow night. But first, coming up next hour.
We're called the Black Pearl.
Other members of the team. Listen to more of that interview.
Now, I've heard that you guys were called the Black Pearl.
Who told you? I don't know. So, yes, this is true. We are the Black Pearl.
But not cursed.
Not cursed. Though that was, contemplated when we were coming up with a team name.
Brendan, you bring up Dan the Song Parody Man. Depp's friend, Jonathan Shaw, is really the dance on. He's a tattoo artist. He loves knives. He had that crazy thing, right, Sarah? We read with the weapons possession. Insane criminal allegations that Depp bailed him out of with to the tune of, God, what was it, 700 grand?
Jesus.
Is this crazy renegade very famous celebrity tattoo artist. He has a documentary, by the way, on YouTube I have yet to watch.
You know, for some of the Depp Stern episodes I sat in on, we talked about the similarities between Depp and Artie, and that I don't know if you've mentioned that one of just like doling out money to people that they probably know in the back of their minds will never pay them back. You know,
crazy similarities, and down the road, that could be a great show. Compare Depp to Artie. It's a lot of striking similarities. Absolutely.
Because with Artie, I've always felt that he gave money to people he knew would never pay him back, so he could look more sympathetic, like it was part of his attention seeking.
No doubt, that's phenomenal.
And I wonder if that's a Depp motivate. Although he does it privately, like Artie had a microphone on the show where he could air that stuff out. You know?
Yeah, every now and again it's revealed Artie didn't know. I mean, he didn't broadcast what he was giving people, but
fair,
you're right. You're right. More so, right. He wants you to know. He likes bragging about gambling money, and you're right.
Kind of came up with this, I think it was Ben, that he would just start referring to us as the Black Pearl. So every email I get from Ben pretty much starts off with Black Pearl, comma, and goes into telling us whatever he wants us to do. And that's just how we refer to ourselves. It took.
Obviously, it's the ship that Jack Sparrow is on, or whatever. Truth be told, I actually haven't seen a lot of the pirates, so I know it's bad. Well, what's interesting about this is that we had some real big fans of Johnny and his work on the team, and they happen to be some of the people that wrote a lot of the briefs.
I bet it's theory that Camille is got basic bitch.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, this reveals her. You know, it's the ship that he's on. Like she can't find the right preposition for it.
From a pop culture standpoint, she's like basic bitch, like Julia Roberts movies and Friends DVDs and shit like that. I'm not saying that obviously Pirates is very mainstream, but it's not something she would see.
Right.
It's just she certainly didn't know. She's not going to watch Fear and Loathing in Vegas for Christ's sake.
Right. She's inspired to go into law from Legally Blonde, I'm sure. You know,
as much as we love Camille, she's probably got very basic bitch pop culture.
Culture stuff. Whatever. It's fine.
And Jessica Meyers actually is a huge fan of Johnny Depp's and his films.
Yeah, so I grew up watching his movies, as I think many have. So when I would write the briefs, very often there would just be little tidbits that there would be a phrase or something that it would make me happy to drop it in, and I don't know that anyone else would notice.
I noticed,
sometimes.
Oh,
that's cute.
I don't know if the courts noticed, but
I noticed, Donnie. That's all about
hopefully not, actually. But it was something to sort of make what can be sometimes an overwhelming and difficult job a little more fun.
And Johnny seemed like someone who was so upbeat the whole time. So he was very much a part of your team as well.
There is a funny story about Johnny during the trial. He was very involved. So after court, we would come back to the hotel we were all staying at, and we would meet and we would debrief, and then we would talk about what was happening the next day. And you know, there was definitely a rapport built between all of us. He played a pretty good practical joke on all of us. We had a war room that was down the hall from where he was staying. All of a sudden, someone knocks on the war room door, and there is a very elderly man outside who just comes barging into the war room.
How great would the Lost reality show be if they actually recorded their war room preparation? And there actually is some footage of it, but if you had like a full-blown reality show of their war room preparation, I really think that would work. I really think that would be
I
good.
agree. Yeah.
They have footage of it. There's other things. We'll get to that some other time. But
I love Jessica dropping little Depp references and like getting a thrill out of that. You know, like.
No, there's no doubt about it. I mean, everybody does that. Like, I would totally do that. I hear stories about like comic book guys who do like animated series, and if they get pushed back where they're not allowed to go full, but they have like they call them obviously the Easter eggs, and they would show
Right.
for the real fan, we're going to show you, oh my god, look in the background, there's Stingray, or the real fans will pick up on what we're trying to do if they're ever stopped by just because they know the humanoids aren't going to be able to handle it.
If I was Jessica, I would have, one of my questions would have been like, I don't know a lot about AIDS, but can you tell me about
If she got to the quoting Jump Street PSAs.
PSAs?
I don't know a lot about AIDS, but I do know this is C. Everett Koop.
Yeah, right.
The Surgeon General.
And really had people going and scared because we didn't know who this person was. And then we heard the laugh, and the laugh is unmistakably Johnny. And it's actually one of the disguises he uses when he goes out.
Tell me about Ben Chu.
You gotta love Ben. He's honestly one of the sweetest people you'll ever meet. He's a genuinely nice guy. He gives people a lot of opportunities that they wouldn't ordinarily get at their level. He really sets his ego aside and decides what's going to be best for the case.
I had the good fortune of working with Ben Chu on another trial at the end of 2019. And afterwards, I had helped him prep for a witness that he took at that trial. And I think he must have appreciated, I think he appreciated the way that I knew all the documents and sort of had mastered the factual evidence for the trial. I'm so appreciative to Ben for giving me that opportunity.
I wonder just how many under lawyers were vying for this job in the whole Brown-Rudnick Federal. I mean, there's a lot of lawyers in there. I couldn't believe how many there are in the Brown-Rudnick page. So I wonder just how many people were vying for this high-profile thing, because it could just change your life beyond anything. As Camille Vasquez is a superstar now, as John O'Reilly pointed out.
Giving me that chance then, and then I'll be taking a chance on me at trial as well.
I mean, I adore Ben. He's a wonderful friend and mentor and fantastic lawyer. I have, nothing but love and respect for him. I mean, these people, we're stuck together for life, whether we like it or not.
Stuck on you.
We're family. I mean,
okay,
we're stuck together for.
Look at this picture.
Yeah.
Right. This is the opposite of Amber Heard's team.
Oh, totally.
This is a genuine football huddle where they all just care for and root for each other. Where it's almost like Amber Heard's team is like individual players rooting against each other with Schadenfreude that Rottenborn wants Bredehoff to look shitty so he looks better.
Yeah, it's like their team is a healthy codependence, and and Amber's team is all these out for themselves independents. Yeah, I mean, you could even tell that in the way that it felt like Amber's team wouldn't even acknowledge each other when they were sitting at the desk,
it's like
not
they
saying
no
anything.
I know they never whispered to each other. There was no eye contact. It's crazy. And you really
and that's
see
all
this
you
picture.
saw from Depp's side was Ben Chu turning around to talk to Camille or talk to Jessica.
There's not a doubt in my mind these people genuinely love each other. There's not a phony smile in the bunch.
Yeah.
There's no question. They genuinely rooting for and like each other.
Yeah.
And it was done in the most team way possible.
Right.
Life, whether we like it or not at this point. I mean, we're family. I mean, again, tremendous amount of respect for him and just adore him.
This is rare. This is rare. The lawyers considering themselves a family and a team, and everybody loves Ben Chu. Ben Chu still with us, and also joining us now, Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter. And Chanley, you can verify that everyone loves Ben Chu, right?
Everyone loves Ben Chu. It's so rewarding as a journalist, Vinny, to start a story day one, sit inside a courtroom every day, get to know the teams, the players, the parties, and then full circle almost sit down afterwards. And really, they pull the curtain back, and we learn so many new details that are revealing. And yes, who does?
Speaking of new details, did you know Ben Chu is a relatively new father, Davyd? He is
really?
He's 61. and he has a 9-year-old or an 8-year-old.
Oh wow.
So I think he has 2 kids that he had in his 50s.
Okay, he's Letterman. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you go into the high school graduation in your 70s.
Right, and you think it's his grandpa.
I know fathers are older now, but it's
Not that
that's
old.
a whole other level. That's
Yeah.
pretty good. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, no,
if you pull it off.
Doesn't love Ben Chu, right? Such a great guy. So honored to have him on tonight. But this isn't it. We have a whole show tomorrow, another hour. That was just the beginning, the tip of the iceberg, Vinny.
Gotcha. And we're going to have a preview of that in just a second. Ben, let me ask you about this team, this family, this trust. Was this trial fun?
Good question.
There
like
were
that.
aspects of it that were a lot of fun. This was such a great team, myself excluded and Wayne excluded. Wayne Dennison is another tremendous senior attorney, but ourselves excluded. It was a very young team. We had the benefit of working with them. It was wonderful. We were very close, and Johnny also is a lot of fun. There were moments of tension. You know, his life was on the line, so it wasn't all fun and games.
I want to hear about the tension, Ben. I want to hear about the action, because you don't think of them
Right.
as being at odds in any way, shape, or form. I'd love to hear about whatever tension happened, because it doesn't come up much. That'd be really.
And I wonder if the tension is the stuff that you bring up, like the things that Amber's team could have addressed that they're trying to bury. And I wonder if that's where the tension
I
comes from,
think
that
you're
they'll be
spot
found out.
on. I think that's exactly what it is.
Right.
Is like, how do we bury this, and do we go at? I think because it's irrefutable that you could throw that in their face and how they missed it. There has to be. If there's any controversy, it's that.
Yeah.
What do we bury? What do we try to bury? And what do we say? Well, we want to show full transparency. We'll let this in. I think that's exactly what they argued about, Davyd.
Yeah.
And our love for him kind of made us work even harder. And I wanted to clear up one thing for the record. It was Jessica who came up with the Black Pearl. I'd love to take credit for that, but that was her.
She's the big fan. All right, Chanley, what can we expect tomorrow night in part 2? And Ben, you're joining us tomorrow night too, right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. What's coming up tomorrow night, Chanley?
Yeah, tomorrow night we're going to shift. We focus tonight a lot on Depp's case in chief rebuttal. Tomorrow, Amber Heard's case, specifically a lot of Camille Vasquez perspective on Amber's testimony, how she prepped for the cross-examination, what didn't go as planned, and what surprised her. Here's a taste, Vinny.
During the cross of Amber, anything surprise you? Yes, she came off angry at some of the questions, and that was surprising to me, but also I thought really helpful for our case, because I think the jury got to see, at least in our opinion, who the real Amber Heard was.
There's a lot more of that, plus some new details, Vinny, on the jury. Things that I didn't know sitting in there staring at the jury all day long, coming from Camille Vasquez, plus the team's reaction to the appeal filed by Amber Heard, and a lot of the arguments from Amber's side. There's some tough questions that they're going to field tomorrow. We're going to hear their answers, especially with Amber Heard arguing about this chilling effect that she believes.
Look at Bretta Hoff's face on the right. Looks like she gave up already right there. She's checked out. She's like, I can't do anything here.
No, they all look like they're in this desperately bleak Ingmar Bergman film. Like, you know, just like
no one's on the same page, and they're
Right.
not even a distant miles away from each other in their head.
Yeah.
This verdict, has on women or survivors who want to step forward and talk about domestic abuse. So we'll have the Depp team's reaction to all of those tough questions tomorrow.
Ben, let me ask you about Amber Heard. Had you ever heard of Amber Heard before this?
Good question.
I really hadn't. Only in the context of speaking with Johnny and knowing that by the time I met him, they had already been divorced. But I didn't know any of her work as an actress.
I can't get out.
And the Washington Post op-ed that is the subject of all of this, when it first came out, did you see it? Did you read it? Were you surprised, or is it something that you get a call from Johnny saying, what's going on here?
I was surprised. I mean, I read it, and then almost contemporaneously, I got a call from someone on Johnny's team, but I read it the same way the jury read it. It clearly was referring to Johnny. There wasn't much subtle about it, and the fact that they didn't literally mention his name was immaterial. I thought it was outrageous.
And one more question. We don't have less than a minute left here, Ben. How big this trial became? Did you have any idea going in?
Another good question, Vinny.
No, we really didn't. I mean, when the chief judge decided it would be televised, we knew there would be some notoriety. It really didn't hit me until opening arguments, which Camille and I split. And when I got up there, I kind of realized the magnitude of it in terms of the interest that people had. And then every day around the courthouse, of course, it was, there.
She was like, I knew it when I saw black people standing outside waiting for Johnny. That's how I knew the racial impact this trial would have.
Depp cut across demos.
I found myself counting the black people in the crowd. I often did that outside.
For people, there were alpacas. It was quite a scene.
It snowballed. It absolutely did.
Did you say alpacas?
Chanley
Yeah,
Painter,
alpacas.
thank you so much.
They
We'll
had
see
them
you
out,
again
though.
tomorrow night.
Oh,
Ben
okay.
Chu, we'll see you tomorrow night.
Okay, that's going to do it for us. Thank you, Vinny. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Chanley. That's part one. I can't wait for part two because I still haven't fully seen it. I believe there's a lot of behind-the-scenes war room footage of them preparing, which I'm very much looking forward to. I saved it for myself for all this time so I can really, really see it like you for the first time. It's really hard for me, though. Anyway, Davyd, thank you so much for hanging with us.
So
this
fun.
entire 3 hours and 15 minutes. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for all your beautiful commentary and dedication. Tomorrow is Jump Street episode. It is called The Next Generation, which is another mafia-esque episode with a high school loan shark, and Depp participates. Hansen participates in a kind of a high school Jeopardy thing. It's a bizarre episode.
I'll have that up Sunday.
Cool.
We'll have it up Sunday. Thank you, Sarah. And Expose, the disco pop music of Expose, is the soundtrack. To the point of no return. That's where you know I'm from.
And I'll be on the 14th.
You'll be on the 14th, yes, for a very, very special birthday celebration. 1/14, 1988.
89.
Right? 89.
Yeah.
My favorite year. 1989.
Yes. Right, exactly.
Anyway, this is Sarah. This is Sariana Huffington for Sarah and Davyd saying, "You're taking me to the point of no return."
Moo, moo, moo. I'm a loser. Eh?
Sit down. Stay where you are. For the first time, I choose to walk out on you.
21 Jump.